Chapter 1075. 1075 Dragon Carp, Battle with Wu Qinkong. Boom! A terrifying explosion sounded, and the force shot out in all directions. The underground cave emitted a terrifying vibration. The rock of this underground cave was extremely hard, probably because it had been inhabited by powerful fierce beasts all year round. If it was an ordinary cave, it would have exploded immediately. Even so, the entire underground cave was shaking violently. Bang! Bang! After the first move, Lu Ming's body trembled and he took a few steps back. He's so strong. This monk's strength is actually so terrifying? Lu Ming was extremely shocked. At this moment, he had already unleashed his dragon power, but he was still forced back by his opponent. The power of that golden palm print was astonishing, as if it could suppress everything. It was a direct counter to the prison's suppressing heavenly art. Lu Ming was shocked. The unscrupulous monk was also surprised. He did not expect Lu Ming to be able to take his palm without being injured. Roar! The shaking here attracted the attention of the beasts on the other side. They roared loudly. Clearly, some beasts were rushing over here. I'm a little kid. Benefactor, you're very powerful. I'll give this purple flame crystal to you then. Goodbye. The monk chanted the name of Buddha and left with his sleeves fluttering. Western desert is truly unfathomable. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. The Western desert had always been the territory of the Buddhist sect since ancient times. It had always been mysterious and extremely powerful. Many people said that out of the 5 territories of the divine wilderness continent, the Western desert was only second to the central continent. Roar! The roar was like thunder, and the underground cave rumbled. Lu Ming did not think much and dug out the purple flame crystal. With a move of his body, he left the place. Following that, Lu Ming walked around the underground cave for a while but did not find the third piece of purple flame crystal. However, he encountered a few purple giant lizards that he killed. However, it was obvious that there was a nest of giant lizards in the underground cave, some of which were very powerful. Lu Ming did not stay for long. He walked around for a while, then left the cave and flew into the distance. Ooh! A strong wind blew and Lu Ming smiled. He was in a good mood after obtaining 2 purple flame crystals. Each of the 7 main ingredients required to refine the nirvana elixir was extremely precious and rarely appeared in the outside world. Now that he had obtained one, it could be considered an opportunity. Naturally, Lu Ming was in a good mood. Boom! An earth-shattering explosion rang out. In front of them, Sword Chi soared into the sky, inscriptions glittered, and the space was torn apart. There was an intense battle going on. Lu Ming flew at top speed. He cast the water concept and condensed a cloud of mist. He hid in the mist and watched. There were a total of 4 people in the great battle. Lu Ming was quite familiar with a few of them. They were Goddess Tan Xiang, Kong Xen from the Tianxia Academy, Wu Qinkong from the Tianwu Sword Sect, and a brawny man in his 40s. He was as strong as Wu Qinkong. The 4 of them were in a chaotic battle. However, it was obvious that Goddess Tan Xiang and Kong Xen were working together. They fought fiercely with Wu Qinkong and the brawny man. At this moment, Lu Ming noticed that there was a small lake below. The water was clear and there were 3 koi swimming around in the lake. These 3 carps were golden and there was light emitting from their bodies. They gathered and scattered at times, and when they gathered, they looked like a real dragon. Dragon carp, it's a dragon carp. Lu Ming was shocked. The dragon carp was also a supreme treasure. It was said to be the descendant of a true dragon. It had the true blood of a true dragon in its body and was used to refine pills. It was a rare treasure medicine and its value was even higher than the purple flame crystal. Coincidentally, the blood of the dragon carp was one of the 7 main ingredients to refine the nirvana elixir. You guys want to fight with me? You're looking for death. The dragon carp is mine. Wu Qinkong shouted, full of killing intent. Wu Qinkong, don't be too overbearing. There are 3 dragon carps. How about we each get one? Tan Xiang spoke. 1 rule per party. Do you have the qualifications? All 3 of them are mine. Wu Qingkong sneered. His sword chi whistled and cut the space. It was terrifying. The other brawny man didn't say anything. His entire body was emitting white light. He waved his palm, and a huge hand appeared, tearing the sky and the earth. This is the sky-splitting Great Palm Imprint. This person should be an expert from the Overlord Force, the Ji family. Lu Ming's heart stirred. Among the 3 parties, Wu Qingkong had amazing combat strength, and the strong man from the Ji family had a high cultivation and was not weak either. However, when Goddess Tan Xiang and Kong Xen joined forces, their combat strength was also very terrifying and not weaker than others. It was difficult to determine the winner in a battle between 3 parties. Lu Ming smiled. He suddenly used the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps and rushed toward the surface of the lake. In an instant, he appeared above the lake. He stretched out his hand and a huge hand made of vital essence appeared, grabbing at the 3 dragon carps. Who is it? You're looking for death. The people in the air were shocked, and Wu Qingkong roared. Just as the 3 dragon carps were about to land in Lu Ming's hands, their bodies glowed and transformed into a ray of light. In a flash, they escaped from Lu Ming's giant primordial chi hand. Lu Ming was shocked. Just as he was about to capture it with all his might, a terrifying sword chi appeared in the space and slashed at Lu Ming. Lu Ming had no choice but to turn around and throw a punch. Bang! The sword chi was destroyed. Buzz. Whoosh. In a flash, Wu Qingkong, the brawny man from the Ji family, Goddess Tan Xiang, and Kong Xen appeared around Lu Ming. However, they did not attack immediately. Instead, they locked their auras on Lu Ming. Kid, it's you? Wu Qingkong was shocked when he saw Lu Ming clearly. Fairy Tan Xiang and Kong Xen were also surprised. They recognized Lu Ming. Brat, to be able to block my sword, you must have some ability. You deliberately hid your strength before. Wu Qingkong looked at Lu Ming coldly and continued, however, since you dared to capture a dragon carp right under my nose, you must have reached the end of your life. The Martial Saint's secret realm is a place for those who see it. I saw a treasure, so of course I can help. Lu Ming pursed his lips slightly. If you make a move, you have to pay the price with your life. Wu Qingkong's killing intent exploded. He already had the intention to kill Lu Ming when Lu Ming refused to give him the quota for the marrow cleansing pool. Now, his killing intent was even more intense. Whoosh! Wu Qingkong swung his sword and a terrifying sword chi slashed at Lu Ming. It was even more powerful than before. Lu Ming was fearless. He activated the prison-destructive heavenly art, exploded with dragon power, and threw a punch. Boom! Heaven and earth trembled and the force surged. Water pillars rose from the lake below. The 3 dragon carps flickered and dodged the force. Bang! The sword chi dispersed, and Lu Ming broke it with a punch. He stepped forward and said in a cold voice, "Just you? You're still lacking." Then he threw another punch. Lu Ming's fist seemed to contain the force of hundreds of millions of June. It was terrifying and shocking, causing the entire space to tremble. So strong. Wu Qingkong was extremely shocked. Genuine vitality surged in his body. The sound of swords rang out continuously as he slashed out shocking sword chi. However, it was useless. Lu Ming was like an invincible god of war. He punched out with his fist force, continuously destroying the sword chi and quickly approaching Wu Qingkong. On the side, Fairy Tan Xiang, Kong Xen, and the others were also extremely shocked. They had never expected that this young man, who was thought to have passed the Tianshu cave by luck, would have such a powerful combat strength. It was too terrifying. Why does this person's fighting style look so familiar? Fairy Tan Xiang said. I have the same feeling. Kong Xen said. Buzz. Suddenly, the strong man from the Ji family moved and pounced at the dragon carp below. Chapter 1076. 1076 Chapter 1076 Great Battle against Xuefeng. Don't even think about it. The Fairy Tan Xiang shouted. With a wave of her hand, a few pills flew out. The pills glowed and turned into weapons that attacked the Ji family's brawny man. At the same time, Kong Xen also attacked the burly man from the Ji family. The three of them started a great battle. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming was brave and invincible. He stepped on the void and his fist strength was shocking. The air kept exploding. Wu Qinkong was forced to step back. He was at a complete disadvantage. In the end, he let out a long howl and used the fusion of blood and meridians to form a combat sword. The sword chi whistled as he fought Lu Ming. To be honest, Wu Qinkong was very powerful, much stronger than Blood Luozi. He was indeed one of the most powerful masters under the five magnates. He had the right to be proud. However, his cultivation was still at the first level of the spiritual god realm. Lu Ming had never been afraid of anyone at the same level. Clang! Clang! After a few consecutive punches, the combat sword was sent flying, and it kept vibrating in the air. Damn it, who are you? Impossible! Wu Qinkong shouted in disbelief. He could not believe that a man who had appeared out of nowhere could have such terrifying combat power. Not far away, Kong Xen and the others were also shocked. Wu Qinkong was completely suppressed. It was too shocking. Who could do it except for the five magnates? Boom! 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 Right at this moment, a terrifying explosion sounded from afar, and a blood-red light flew over at extreme speed. Buzz! A burly figure appeared in the air. His eyes were like lightning, and the moment he saw Lu Ming, he burst out with a shocking killing intent. Lu Shaoqing die! The figure let out a furious roar and threw a punch. A blood-red fist radiance pierced through the void and headed towards Lu Ming. Blood seal! Lu Ming frowned. The figure was the previous top genius of Cold Blood Hall, Xue Feng. He did not expect to see him here. Lu Ming threw a backhanded punch and it collided with Xue Feng's fist radiance. His body trembled and he retreated continuously. Xue Feng was extremely powerful. He had a 7th level divine level bloodline and a cultivation base of the 4th level of the spiritual god realm. His combat strength was truly terrifying. Xue Feng stepped forward, his aura violent. His eyes were filled with killing intent as he glared at Lu Ming. At this moment, Fairy Tan Xiang and Kong Xan were dumbfounded. Lu Shaoqing. Xue Feng had just called Lu Ming Lu Shaoqing. This dark-skinned young man was actually Lu Shaoqing. After exchanging a blow with the Ji family's brawny man, the two of them retreated far away and did not continue to attack. Xue Feng's arrival had made the situation even more complicated. "Brother Lu, it's you?" Fairy Tan Xiang said. "Fairy, how have you been?" Lu Ming smiled. He remained calm in the face of Xue Feng. "It's really you." Kong Xen was also shocked. At this time, Wu Qinkong retreated far away and watched. This brat has offended Xue Feng. He's really looking for death. Wu Qinkong sneered. "Kill!" Xue Feng roared as he stepped forward and threw a punch. The space was shattered by the blood-red fist radiance. It was extremely terrifying. "Do you think I'm afraid of you?" The third bloodline emerged, and a trace of energy surged into Lu Ming's body. In an instant, Lu Ming's body was filled with a terrifying killing intent, and his hair turned blood red. Then, the third bloodline turned into a combat sword. Lu Ming held it in his hand and slashed. A blood-red sword light flashed and split Xue Feng's fist in half. Is that his bloodline? That's strange. Why is there no chakra? On the side, Fairy Tan Xiang and the others were shocked. First, he was shocked that Lu Ming had finally unleashed the power of his blood meridian. His combat strength was indeed stronger, and he had not used his full strength earlier. Secondly, they were shocked. Lu Ming's blood meridian did not have a chakra. This was unheard of. Damn it, this guy shouldn't have a life talisman. I have to find a way to kill him. I'll wait for the opportunity to attack when he fights against Xue Feng. Wu Qinkong kept thinking. Xue Feng was shocked to see Lu Ming break his fist radiance with one sword move. The vital essence in his body circulated crazily, and his aura became more violent. Blood Leopard Divine Fist. Xue Feng's fists were like blood jade as he continuously punched out with a blood-red light. In the process of flying out, he transformed into a blood leopard and pounced at Lu Ming. This was a god-level martial technique that was incomparably powerful. 5 Slaughter Styles. Lu Ming activated the 5 Styles Massacre. His blood-red sword buzzed and a sword ray slashed out, scattering the blood leopards one by one. Slaughter concept. Xue Feng was shocked. At the same time, he was even more determined to get rid of Lu Ming. Lu Ming's talent was too shocking. He was only at the first level of the spiritual god realm and could fight with him. The blood vessels appeared above his head. In the next moment, he transformed into a blood leopard and pounced at Lu Ming with a roar. Lu Ming was fearless. He held his sword and fought Xue Feng. Lu Ming's combat strength was unparalleled, and he was invincible among those of the same level. However, Xue Feng's cultivation was 3 levels higher than Lu Ming's. He was much more powerful. Moreover, he had also comprehended a divine-level martial arts technique and was extremely powerful when he used the blood fusion. Lu Ming exchanged dozens of moves with it and slowly fell into a disadvantage. The difference in cultivation is too big. If I use the bloodline of the 9 dragons or the bloodline of the prison-suppressing steel, and with the power of the 3rd bloodline, I might be able to fight this man. Lu Ming's mind was racing. However, this result had already shocked everyone else present to the point of no return. I didn't expect Brother Lu's combat power to be so strong. It's amazing. Kong Xian's mouth was agape and tongue-tied. After a while, she managed to squeeze out such a sentence. He was also at the first level of the spiritual god realm. However, he realized that if he were to fight with Lu Ming now, he would be killed easily. On the other side, Wu Qingkong's sword was also shaking in fear. If Lu Ming had used such a power just now, he would not have been able to resist at all. He was too strong. That's right. Even the 5 magnates who are at the same level as him might not be as strong as him. Fairy Tan Xiang sighed. Seal. In the middle of the battle, Lu Ming cast the 9 seals of the divine gate, forming a door of light. The light shone brightly and suppressed Xue Feng. For a moment, Xue Feng was actually frozen in place. Kill! Lu Ming stepped forward and slashed at the blood leopard's head. Roar! The blood leopard roared angrily and a blood-red light exploded. With a bang, the light door was shattered at the critical moment. It continued to retreat, but it was still a step too slow. A piece of its scalp was cut off. Then, Lu Ming lifted his leg and kicked the blood leopard's stomach, sending it flying. What a pity! Lu Ming secretly felt that it was a pity. His cultivation was still not strong enough. The sealed door he had formed had been broken by Xue Feng's violent essential core. If Lu Ming's cultivation was stronger or he had cultivated 2 sealed doors, it would not be so easy to break Xue Feng's seal. The sealing door was not omnipotent. If one's cultivation level was too high, Lu Ming would naturally not be able to seal it. Even so, Xue Feng's body was already cold. He looked at Lu Ming with fear in his eyes. He was almost killed by Lu Ming just now. What kind of secret technique is this? It's so terrifying. He was so shocked that he did not dare to step forward and fight Lu Ming. Kill! This time, it was Lu Ming's turn to take the initiative to kill. He stepped forward and charged at Xue Ban. Buzz! Another sealing door appeared. Xue Feng was frightened and quickly retreated, not daring to let the sealing door touch him. Chapter 1077. 1077, an existence that surpasses the Emperor. The door of seals glowed and flew toward Xue Feng like a ray of light. The light from the door of seals also had a sealing effect, and Xue Feng had no way of escaping. His body was enveloped by the light of the gate of sealing, and he could not help but freeze. Buzz! Lu Ming's body was like a flickering light and a fleeting shadow as he rushed towards Xue Feng. The blood leopard that blood seal had transformed into roared in anger. Blood light gushed out like a volcanic eruption and attacked the sealing door. This time, Lu Ming was even faster. The blood sword pierced through the air and pierced through the blood leopard's body in an instant. Roar! The blood leopard let out a deafening roar and destroyed the gate of seal. It clawed at Lu Ming. Lu Ming's expression changed. In a hurry, he struck out with his palm, clashing with the blood leopard's claw. With a loud boom, Lu Ming's body was sent flying thousands of meters away. His qi and blood churned and he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. The blood-sealed true essence was too strong. The moment Lu Ming stabbed him, it broke through the ceiling door and launched a counterattack. However, the blood leopard that Xiefeng had transformed into was stabbed by Lu Ming's sword. It was definitely not in a good state. At this moment, he shouted angrily and did not dare to continue fighting. Instead, he turned around and ran. Lu Ming did not pursue him. With his current cultivation level and the 9 seals of the Divine Gate, he could indeed injure Xuefeng by catching him off guard. However, it was almost impossible to kill him. If Xuefeng risked his life, Lu Ming would not have it easy. In the blink of an eye, Xuefeng had disappeared. As for Wu Qinkong, he had already sneaked away before Xuefeng escaped. As for the dragon carp, he did not dare to take it. If he continued to stay, he would definitely be killed by Lu Ming. On the other side, the middle-aged man of the Ji family's expression changed, but in the end he sighed and turned to leave. His combat ability was only on par with Wu Qinkong. He would be courting death if he stayed. In an instant, only Lu Ming, Fairy Tan Xiang, and Kong Xen were left in the sky above the lake. "Brother Lu, why did you change your appearance? Even your aura has changed. It's making us suffer." Fairy Tan Xiang said with a smile. "There are some people I just don't want to see. Fairy, please forgive me." Lu Ming smiled. Lu Ming then looked at the 3 dragon carps in the lake and said, "Do the 2 of you need dragon carps too?" This time, it's all thanks to Brother Lu. Otherwise, when Xuefeng arrived, Brother Kong and I would not have gotten anything. These 3 dragon carps naturally belong to Brother Lu. Fairy Tan Xiang said, "You're too kind, Fairy. I only need 2. You can take the other one." Lu Ming smiled and landed on the surface of the lake. He cast the 9 seals of the Gate of God and a sealing door appeared. The 3 dragon carps were instantly immobilized. Then, his vital essence condensed into a huge hand and scooped the 3 dragon carps up. With a wave of his hand, 2 of the dragon carps disappeared and were kept by Lu Ming into a small lake in the mountain and river diagram. To refine the nirvana elixir, only the true blood of the dragon carp was needed. They did not have to kill the dragon carp, so 2 dragon carps were enough. More would not be of much use. There was no harm in giving the other one to Fairy Tan Xiang. "Many thanks, Brother Lu." Fairy Tan Xiang revealed a look of joy. She was an alchemist, and this dragon carp was indeed of great use to her. After putting it away, Fairy Tan Xiang was about to say something when her expression suddenly froze. She revealed a look of surprise and widened her eyes as she looked ahead. Beside him, Kong Xen was the same. She seemed to have seen something extremely shocking. Lu Ming was a little surprised. He turned around and the next moment his eyes widened. In front of them, at an unknown distance away, there was a grand palace that appeared from the void. Clouds and mist lingered around it, making it look like a celestial palace. It was extremely huge, but it was filled with the vicissitudes of life, as if it had transcended countless years. It seemed both real and illusionary. From a distance, it didn't look real, like an illusion. What palace is this? It clearly wasn't there just now. Lu Ming was shocked. There was nothing there just now. Why did an ancient palace suddenly appear? The Holy Mansion, it's the Holy Mansion. Kong Xen muttered to himself, his eyes filled with excitement. Holy Mansion. Fairy Tan Xiang and Lu Ming were both very surprised. This secret realm was called the Saint Mansion Secret Realm, but Lu Ming had never known what it meant. He did not expect that there was really a Saint Mansion. Yes, according to the ancient records of our Tianxia Academy, there is a Saint Mansion in this secret realm. There is a supreme existence in it, and it is said that he has surpassed the Emperor. Kong Xen said word by word. Her eyes were filled with excitement, as if she was a saint. An existence that surpasses the Emperor level. Lu Ming and Tan Xiang gasped in shock. In the divine wilderness continent, emperors were the strongest. In the eyes of all cultivators, an emperor was already a supreme existence. Their combat power was all over the world. With one palm, they could split the sky and crack the earth. They could penetrate the earth and pierce through the sky. It was terrifying beyond compare. The ultimate goal of all cultivators was to become an emperor and dominate the world. But now, there was actually a figure who was above emperor here? How could it not be shocking? Is this true or false? Lu Ming asked. Kong Xen shook her head and said, I don't know, but that's what the ancient books said. And the ancient books said that the Saint Mansion rarely appeared. Even when the emperors could enter this place freely, no one had ever seen it. It had always been a legend. Now it has really appeared. It's incredible. Kong Xen sighed repeatedly and was very excited. Then she revealed many secrets. It was said that there was an existence beyond the emperor level living in this Saint Mansion. If someone obtained the token of the Saint Mansion, they could enter the Saint Mansion with it and obtain great opportunities. They could even have the chance to obtain the inheritance of that existence. The token of the Saint Mansion was in the secret realm. It said that the Saint Mansion's secret realm has existed for hundreds of thousands of years. Even those who have surpassed the Emperor realm can't live for hundreds of thousands of years, right? Fairy Tan Xiang asked with some doubts. The higher one's cultivation was, the longer one's lifespan would be. It was already very heaven-defying for an emperor to live for 10,000 to 20,000 years. It was equivalent to 100 lives for mortals. They could sit and watch the world change, just like a living historical record. As for existences that surpassed emperors, no matter how powerful they were, they couldn't possibly live for hundreds of thousands of years. That was too shocking and unbelievable. Unless it was a god in the legends. It was said that gods could exist together with heaven and earth and would never be destroyed, but that was only a legend. I'm not too sure about this. Kong Xen shook her head. Even so, their eyes were filled with flames. An existence that had surpassed the Emperor realm. This was too shocking. Once one reached that realm, they would definitely be able to see through the heavens and earth. It was unimaginable. If it was true, they would be able to obtain something that would benefit them endlessly. Roar! Right at this moment, a series of long howls resounded through the earth. It was extremely shocking. Oh! The three of them saw a huge Selavir wolf appear on a mountain in the distance. It howled at the sky, and its aura was shocking like a tsunami. With one step, the mountain collapsed. The Selavir wolf broke through the sky and flew in the direction of the Saint Mansion. Boom! 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 In the sky, a mountain was moving. At a closer look, it was a giant snake. It slithered across the sky and headed for the Saint Mansion. Bang! The earth rumbled and trembled. A few people saw a giant ape as tall as a mountain not far away. It stomped on the ground, cracking the earth and shaking the mountains. In front of the giant ape, a martial artist could not dodge in time and was slapped to death by the giant ape. Chapter 1078. 1078. The token of the Saint Mansion. The land seemed to be boiling. Powerful, ferocious beasts flew in the direction of the Saint Mansion. Along the way, they would kill any human warriors they saw. There were even powerful beasts killing each other. Gah! With a sharp cry, the sky darkened, and a terrifying pressure suddenly pressed down. Not good, let's go. Lu Ming's expression changed and he rushed to the side. Fairy Tan Xiang and Kong Xian's expressions changed drastically as well. They followed Lu Ming and charged to the side. A strong wind blew, and a giant eagle flew over the three people's heads. Its eyes were as sharp as swords, and it swept a glance at the three people. With a flap of its wings, a terrifying tornado formed, rolling towards the three people. Wherever the tornado passed, not to mention the trees, even the huge mountains were pulled up and rolled in. The scene was terrifying. The three of them ran forward at top speed to avoid the tornado. After the giant eagle conjured a tornado, it ignored Lu Ming and the rest and quickly left. The three of them didn't dare to take it head-on and used their movement techniques to avoid it. They flew for a few thousand miles before the tornado weakened and disappeared into the air. Whew! The three of them let out a long breath. That giant eagle was definitely a ferocious beast above the 7th level of the spiritual god realm. It was too powerful and they were far from it. It seems like the birth of the Saint Mansion has alarmed all the powerful beasts in the secret realm. Kong Xian said, "What are your plans next?" Lu Ming asked. "Let's meet up with the other brothers and see if we can take a gamble. With the appearance of the Saint Mansion, if we can obtain even a little bit of luck, it will be extremely beneficial." Kong Xian's eyes were burning with passion. Fairy Tan Xiang also nodded. A group of people from the Valley of the Medicine Masters had also entered, and she was also looking for people from the Valley of the Medicine Masters. "Fairy, how about our two families join forces? The Valley of the Medicine Masters is good at the Tao of Inscription, and the Tianxia Academy also has its own Tao of Inscription and martial arts. Only by cooperating with each other can they bring out the best in each other." Kong Xian said, "Alright, it's decided then. Brother Lu, are you coming with us?" Fairy Tan Xiang looked at Lu Ming. "No, I still have other matters to attend to. I'll take my leave now." Lu Ming shook his head and bade farewell to the two of them, leaving. The two of them felt that it was a pity. If Lu Ming had joined them, they would undoubtedly be more confident. Then the two of them left the place. The emergence of the Saint Mansion had stirred up everyone in the secret realm. Everyone in the world's academies knew some secrets. The rumors about those above the emperor level had also spread. All the experts who entered the secret realm were extremely excited. The experts of all major forces gathered and headed in the direction of the Saint Mansion. As Lu Ming flew, he soon saw a few corpses of ferocious beasts that had been killed by those powerful beasts. Lu Ming landed and his devouring power burst forth, devouring the blood essence and demonic energy of the beasts. He had left Fairy Tan Xiang and Kong Xian with this thought. Just now, the powerful beasts in the secret realm went on a rampage and killed many martial artists and weaker beasts. Lu Ming did not want to waste them. He devoured them to break through to the next realm. Along the way, Lu Ming devoured every human warrior and beast he saw killed. Among them, there were many existences at the spiritual god level. The amount of energy that Lu Ming devoured grew larger and larger. After a full day, Lu Ming had devoured the energy of more than 100 human warriors and beasts. Then he found a hidden place and entered the mountain and river diagram to begin refining. The energy of the blood essence was all used to improve the bloodline of the 9 dragons. The rest of the energy was converted into true essence. Lu Ming started to break through to the 2nd level of the spiritual god realm. His current intent realm of heaven and earth was completely ahead of his cultivation. As long as he had energy, he could break through to the next realm. Boom! Boom! The boundless true essence gathered into the spiritual god, making it more solid. The spirit god sat cross-legged in his dantian. His entire body was shining and he looked solemn. After half a day, there was a loud boom and Lu Ming's aura grew. 2nd level of the spiritual god realm. Lu Ming had finally broken through to the 2nd level of the spiritual god realm. His strength had greatly improved. If he were to encounter Xue Feng now, Lu Ming was confident that he could kill him without the 9 seals of the divine gate. Lu Ming stood up and stepped out, appearing outside the mountain and river diagram. "Now, we can fight for the Saint Mansion." Lu Ming revealed a confident look. If it had been before he had broken through to the 2nd level of the spiritual god realm, Lu Ming might not have been able to obtain any benefits even if he had gone. Many of the previous generation's geniuses from the Overlord forces had entered. It was likely that every Overlord force had an expert like Xue Feng. There might even be someone stronger. Moreover, these forces had a large number of manpower. If Lu Ming was at the 1st level of the spiritual god realm, he might not be a match for him even if he went. Moreover, there was still Yang Padian. The battle power of the top 5 young warriors was absolutely shocking and couldn't be underestimated. But now, Lu Ming was confident that even if he could not suppress the crowd, he would not have a problem getting a share of the loot. Using the 9 dragons' heaven-treading steps, Lu Ming turned into a stream of light and sped away. Soon, Lu Ming had flown hundreds of thousands of miles. So far, where is the Saint Mansion? Lu Ming was speechless. He had flown for hundreds of thousands of miles, but he felt that the distance to the Saint Mansion was not close at all. It was still so far away that he could only see it but not reach it. Lu Ming continued to fly for millions of miles. Unfortunately, he still did not feel that he was close to the Holy Mansion. The Saint Mansion was suspended in the air, like a celestial palace. Boom! All of a sudden, the area in front of them was in an uproar. There were experts fighting, and it was extremely intense. The distant sky was covered by an endless light. All kinds of colors were flashing, and terrifying attacks were constantly colliding. Lu Ming was slightly shocked. He concealed his aura and flew over. Fairy, Brother Kong. Below, a few figures looked up. Fairy Tan Xiang and Kong Xen were among them. Lu Ming flew over to greet them. Brother Lu. The two of them smiled when they saw Lu Ming. What's going on? Lu Ming asked. They're fighting for the Saint Mansion token. Fairy Tan Xiang said. What? The token of the Holy Mansion has appeared? Lu Ming was shocked. He didn't expect that the battle in the sky was over the token of the Saint Mansion. High up in the sky, the light was so bright that no one could see the faces of the people inside. They could only see 7 or 8 figures fighting fiercely. They were all powerful and terrifying existences. Even geniuses like Goddess Tan Xiang and Kong Xen could only watch from below. There were quite a number of people watching from below. Lu Ming saw Yin Bupo from the Sky Eagle Castle and a few other experts from the Sky Eagle Castle. In addition, on the Demon Mountain, the Ji family's people were also there. Everyone stared at the sky, watching the progress of the battle. Bang! Suddenly, a huge figure was shot down and fell heavily to the ground. It was a lightning eagle, its body covered in lightning, but it was no longer breathing. It was already dead. Senior brother. Yin Bupo and the others roared in shock and anger. It was obvious that this lightning eagle was an expert from the previous generation of the Sky Eagle Castle. Buzz! At this moment, another figure rushed down. It was a man in white who looked to be in his 30s. He was not dead, but he was injured. His white robe was stained with blood. Chapter 1079. 1079 The Battle Between the Geniuses of the Big Shots. Senior Brother Luo. Kong Xian's expression changed and she stepped forward. Obviously, this person was an expert from the Tianxia Academy. Sai, I'm not their match. I don't need the Holy Mansion token. Senior Brother Luo sighed. Kong Xian and Fairy Tan Xiang were secretly shocked. They knew that Senior Brother Luo was the #1 genius of the previous generation of Tianxia Academy. He had awakened a 7th level divine level bloodline and reached the 4th level of the spiritual god realm. He was not weaker than Xue Feng, but he was still no match for him. Those people who fought in the sky were really powerful. The number of people had decreased, but the battle had become even more intense. The terrifying tremors spread out for thousands of miles, and the void was as fragile as paper. Bang! Bang! Following that, more and more people were sent flying out of the battlefield. For people retreated from the battlefield one after another. They were severely injured and stood in the air, looking at the battlefield with fear in their eyes. Lu Ming could see that there were only 2 figures left in the sky, fighting fiercely. Clang! Clang! The sound of collisions rang out continuously, as if 2 gods were fighting. Sila! Space split open and the light receded. 2 figures appeared before everyone's eyes. Both of them were tall and burly, and their auras were wild. One of them was holding a heavenly halberd. His black hair was loose and his aura was extremely shocking. He was just standing there, but the space around him was like water ripples, constantly twisting and forming circles of ripples. Yang Patian. This man was Yang Patian, one of the 5 young tyrants. The other man was standing in front of Yang Patian. His body was even more burly than Yang Potion's. He had 2 muscular arms and was holding a huge wolf-tooth club. This person looked very young, definitely not more than 30 years old. He was of the same generation as Lu Ming and the others. A Heaven's Pride expert of the younger generation was actually able to fight against Yang Patin. Who was this man? This person is from Northern Plains. He is known as the #1 genius of Northern Plains. I heard that he had a conflict with Yang Patin outside. Kong Xian explained in a low voice. Lu Ming was enlightened, so it was a paragon of Northern Plains. He had heard before that a paragon of Northern Plains had fought with Yang Patin, and neither of them won. A purple gold token floated between the two of them, emitting a hazy glow. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. This must be the Holy Mansion token. Tuoba sure, let's decide the winner today. Yang Patin held the heavenly halberd in his hand. With a slight movement he cut open a crack in the space. His aura was wild, his hair was flying, and his eyes were like lightning. Just what I wanted. Tuoba sure grinned and swung his mace, creating a loud rumbling sound. The Saint Mansion token was sent flying into the air by the powerful chi. Whoosh! Whoosh! At the same time, the two of them moved. They charged at each other and began a great battle. Yang Patin had also comprehended the space mentality, and his use of it was even more terrifying than the Emperor God's. At the same time, with the help of other mentalities, his heavenly halberd seemed to be able to cut through the void. The power of space surrounded it, and its power was terrifying. Tuoba Ashur's muscles bulged like an invincible warrior as he brandished his mace, crushing everything in his path. He collided with the heavenly halberd, creating a terrifying boom. The two of them fought intensely and attacked continuously. In the blink of an eye, dozens of moves had passed. The others looked around with amazement in their eyes. Is this the strength of the 5 magnates? It is indeed powerful. Lu Ming sighed. At the same time, there was a strong desire to fight in his eyes. Sigh, they're too strong. They haven't even used their bloodline fusion and they're already so strong. I'm still far from them. Kong Xian sighed. Could it be that their bloodlines have surpassed level 8 divine level? Lu Ming asked. That's right. The bloodlines of the 5 great leaders of the central continent are all at the 9th level of the divine level. Fairy Tan Xiang said. He's actually a level 9 divine level expert. Lu Ming was also somewhat amazed. The 9th level of the divine level was the highest level of bloodline. Every single one of these people was extremely terrifying. Bloodline. The higher the level, the greater the difference in talent or bloodline. A 7th level divine level expert was much stronger than a 6th level divine level expert. However, a level 8 divine level expert was much stronger than a level 7 divine level expert, regardless of whether it was in terms of talent or the bonuses brought about by his bloodline. As for the 9th level of the divine level, it was even more terrifying. That was because the 9th level of the divine level represented the peak and perfection. It was not something that the 8th level of the divine level could compare to. The difference was too great. If a level 8 divine level expert had the potential to become an emperor, then a level 9 divine level expert would definitely be able to break through to the emperor level as long as they didn't die. In the history of the divine wilderness continent, anyone who had awakened a divine level 9th grade bloodline, as long as they did not die, would break through to the throne. Central Continent's 5 giants were equivalent to a future emperor. No wonder Yang Patin was so arrogant. He always acted as if he was above everyone else. He was destined to become an emperor. Apart from those of the same level, everyone else was just like an ant in his eyes. Perhaps, deep in his heart, he didn't even care about the supreme martial artists. Clang! Clang! The battle continued, and it became more and more intense. The two of them were really angry for the Saint Mansion token. Both of them were determined to get the Holy Mansion token. In the blink of an eye, the two had exchanged more than 100 moves. The purple gold token of the Saint Mansion rolled around in their chi. Kacha! Suddenly, the token of the Saint Mansion made a crisp sound, and then shattered into pieces in front of everyone's dumbfounded eyes. The token of the Holy Mansion was broken. Everyone was stunned, even Yang Padian and Tuobashir were stunned. They stopped their battle and looked at each other. No one had expected that the token of the Saint Mansion would break. Wasn't this the token to enter the Saint Mansion? The master of the Holy Mansion was an existence that surpassed emperors. How could the token he made be so easy to break? Impossible. The Holy Mansion's token is sturdy and immortal. It can't be broken. This is fake. This is a fake token. Kong Xian shouted. A fake token. Everyone looked at each other. I know, someone threw out a fake token, wanting to sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight, and come to reap the benefits. Someone guessed. Everyone's eyes flickered. They felt that it was highly possible that someone wanted to fish in troubled waters. Fairy, Brother Kong, how did the token appear? Lu Ming asked. I heard that before this, someone shouted that they had found the token, which caused many people to fight for it. Later on, more and more people joined in, and in the end, Yang Padian and Tuoba Ashur were also attracted here. Kong Xian explained. So, no one saw where the token appeared from? Lu Ming asked. Fairy Tan Xiang and Kong Xian shook their heads. Before, everyone had fought for the token like crazy when they saw it. No one would have thought that it was fake. Lu Ming nodded. It seemed that someone was really taking advantage of the situation. Damn it, which bastard did this? If I find out, I'll make him wish he was dead. The Sky Eagle castles in Bupo roared angrily. Because of this, the Sky Eagle castle lost a top master and suffered a great loss. The other people also revealed a fierce look. This person who took advantage of the situation was really too hateful. Chapter 1080. 1080 Chapter 1080 Troublemaker. Yang Padian and Tuoba Ashur's eyes were also filled with murderous intent. Someone actually dared to play with them, they really deserved to die. The two of them swept their gazes across the crowd, their killing intent incomparably dense, causing one's body to shiver. In the end, they did not find anyone suspicious. Yang Padian coldly snorted before stepping into the air and leaving. Tuoba Ashur grinned and left as well. Since the token was fake, there was no need for them to continue fighting. After that, the people from the other forces also left. Lu Ming did not leave. He fixed his eyes on a person. It was a slightly chubby young man who looked very simple and honest. However, his eyes were darting around, giving Lu Ming a familiar feeling. Fairy, Brother Kong, follow me. Lu Ming said in a low voice. Fairy Tan Xiang and Kong Xian were stunned for a moment. Then, they nodded and followed Lu Ming in a certain direction. In front of him, the plain young man was walking slowly among the mountains. His steps did not seem fast, but his speed was extremely fast. The three of them concealed their auras and followed the young man in the forest. Fairy Tan Xiang and Kong Xian were curious. They did not know why Lu Ming wanted to follow this young man. Could it be that Lu Ming had noticed something? After traveling for 10,000 miles, the young man in front of him stopped. He looked around, and with a flash of light his appearance changed completely. He turned into a monk. An unscrupulous monk. Lu Ming could tell at one glance that this monk was the unscrupulous monk he had met previously. The holy monk of the Western Desert. The three of them hid behind a rock and concealed their auras as much as possible. Kong Xian transmitted her voice to the other two. He could only transmit his voice because the distance was too close. If he spoke, no matter how soft his voice was, the unscrupulous monk would still be able to hear him. AI. At this time, the monk sighed and reached into his pocket. He took out a purple gold token. The three of them were dumbfounded. Wasn't this the token of the Saint Mansion? It was exactly the same as the previous one. My hair is white, my Buddha is merciful. It's a pity that only a few experts died this time. Yang Padian and Tuoba Ashur were not injured. I was thinking that both of them would suffer great losses. The monk mumbled softly, but Lu Ming and the other two heard him clearly. The three of them looked at each other, especially Fairy Tan Xiang and Kong Xian, whose eyes almost popped out of their sockets. It was actually this guy. It was this guy who threw out the fake Saint Mansion token and started the war. Weren't Western Desert's saint monks supposed to be merciful and save all sentient beings? But how could this guy do such a thing? Fairy Tan Xiang and Kong Xen were really in a daze. Lu Ming was better off as he was mentally prepared. He had seen how unscrupulous this monk was previously. Looks like I'll have to do it again. The heartless monk muttered and revealed a harmless smile. He waved his sleeves and strode away. Lu Ming and the other two stared at each other. In the end, they did not continue to follow them. They returned to the place where the battle had taken place and gathered with the people from the Tianxia Academy and the Valley of Medicine Masters. Brother Kong, why haven't we been able to get close to the Holy Mansion? I've flown for millions of miles, but it still seems extremely far away. Lu Ming had some doubts. The Saint Mansion should be several million li ahead, but because it hasn't fully manifested yet, it looks extremely far away and can't be approached. In fact, we've been approaching it all this time. Kong Xian explained. The Tianxia Academy knew the most about the secret realm of the Saint Mansion. Lu Ming nodded. He flew in the direction of the Saint Mansion with the rest. Hundreds of thousands of miles later, there's a Holy Mansion token up ahead. What? The Holy Mansion's token is mine. Let's go. They heard loud shouts as figures tore through the void and flew in one direction. That monk is stirring things up again. Kong Xen gritted her teeth. Let's go and take a look, but don't make a move. Fairy Tan Xiang said. Everyone flew over. Sure enough, a terrifying battle had taken place in a place, and corpses kept falling. They saw a chubby young man in the forest below. His eyes were rolling. It was the transformation of the unscrupulous monk. At this moment, the monk was running around and picking up the storage rings of the dead. Fairy Tan Xiang and Kong Xian's eyelids twitched. Is he really a saint monk from the Western Desert? It can't be fake, right? Fairy Tan Xiang's eyes widened in disbelief. This had completely shattered her understanding of Western Desert's saint monk. It should be true. I've fought with him before, and I used a Buddhist technique. Lu Ming said. This unscrupulous monk was unfathomable. He was young, but his combat strength was extremely terrifying. After that, Lu Ming and the others left the place because the token of the Saint Mansion must be fake. It must be that unscrupulous monk who was stirring up trouble. The group flew for millions of miles. In front of them, a huge mountain peak appeared. The mountain peak was bare, without any vegetation, only rocks. At this time, the entire mountain peak was covered with inscriptions that were shining brightly. High up in the sky, the wind and clouds gathered, and the huge palace was faintly discernible. It seemed to be in the sky, but it had not fully manifested. There were thousands of figures standing far away from the mountain peak. They were all experts from the major forces. Roar! Terrifying roars were heard. On the mountain peak, dozens of powerful beasts were fighting fiercely, and blood chi filled the sky. Lu Ming and the rest looked from afar and were extremely shocked. In the secret realm, those powerful existences were coming here, but they were fighting each other on the mountain peak. Why was that? The roars continued, and the battle was extremely fierce. Those who could make it here were all at the 7th level of the spiritual god realm and above. They were killing each other. Ow! A wolf's howl was incomparably mournful. Lu Ming saw a huge Selavir wolf over 100 meters tall. However, its heart was grabbed by a huge eagle and it fell on the mountain peak. Its blood seeped into the mountain peak, making it shine even more brightly. Gah! The giant eagle was not in a good state either. Its wings were grabbed by a giant ape and torn off with a tearing sound. Then, its stomach was cut open by a giant centipede. They were all giant beasts in an intense battle. Giant beasts fell and were torn apart one after another. A huge snake the size of a mountain was cut into pieces by a huge mantis. However, the mantis's head was also bitten off by the huge snake before it died. Buzz. Whoosh. There were more and more people, but all of them stopped far away from the mountain peak and looked at this scene in shock. Half a day later, all the giant beasts had fallen on the mountain peak. Their blood had seeped into the mountain peak, as if they had become nourishment for the mountain. In the sky, the ancient palace rumbled as wind and clouds gathered, as if it would appear at any moment. At this moment, everyone finally dared to approach the mountain. At a glance, Lu Ming saw more than 5,000 people. Lu Ming saw Yang Patin, Tuoba Shi, and the Divine Emperor. "Junior brother Wu, is he the person you were talking about?" Suddenly, a cold voice was heard and a murderous gaze was fixed on Lu Ming. Lu Ming turned around and frowned. A group of young and middle-aged men with swords on their backs stood not far away. Some of them were looking at Lu Ming with cold eyes. "Wu Qingkong." Lu Ming saw Wu Qingkong inside. Chapter 1081. 1081 Chapter 1081 Fighting the Top 3. These were the experts of the Heavenly Sword faction. "Senior brother, that's him. His name is Lu Shaoqing," Wu Qingkong said to a man in his 40s. "Umph." The man in his prime stepped forward, his eyes cold as he stared at Lu Ming. "Lu Shaoqing, how dare you touch someone from the gifted sword sect? I don't think you'll be able to live in this world." The brawny man's aura was overbearing, and his body revealed a powerful aura. The other people on the field heard the commotion and looked over. Lu Shaoqing. Among them, Jing Kongling, Junyue, and Yin Bupo were a little surprised. They had all seen Lu Ming before and were slightly surprised when they looked at him. "Isn't that the trash with 5 combat skills?" "That's right, it's him. Did he offend the Heavenly Martial Sword School? He's really courting death. Why do I feel like Wu Qingkong lost to him? Otherwise, he wouldn't have asked the masters of the previous generation to come out and fight him himself. It's true, no way? Is that trash that powerful?" Many people recognized Lu Ming. They were in a heated discussion and had all sorts of guesses. Lu Ming cast a casual glance at the middle-aged man and shifted his gaze to Wu Qingkong. "Wu Qingkong, I let you go last time. It seems that you have not learned your lesson. I will send you on your way." Everyone was shocked. Could it be that Wu Qingkong had really suffered a loss at the hands of Lu Ming? "Lu Shaoqing, don't be so arrogant. You're the one who's going to die today." Wu Qingkong's face was cold. He wished he could cut Lu Ming into 8 pieces. Buzz. Buzz. The sound of a sword rang out. The disciples of the Sky Martial Sword School all emitted a strong sword chi. Their eyes were like swords as they stared at Lu Ming. Buzz. Another burly man stepped out and stood with the previous man. His aura was shocking. "So there are 2 experts in the 4th level of the spiritual god realm." Lu Ming's lips curled into a faint smile. There were 2 experts in the 4th level of the spiritual god realm in the Tianwu sword faction. Judging from their auras, they were not weaker than Xue Feng and should be in the same realm as him. "Oh no, it's them. Brother Lu, these 2 are the 2 strongest heaven's favorites from the previous generation of the Heavenly Martial Sword faction. They have both awakened 7th level divine level bloodlines." Fairy Tan Xiang said worriedly. "Heavenly Martial Sword faction, don't go too far. If you want to kill Brother Lu, you have to go through our Tianxia Academy first." Kong Xen stepped forward and stared at the people from the Heavenly Martial Sword School. They had seen Lu Ming's attacks before and they were indeed powerful. He could injure Xue Feng and force him to retreat in a sorry state. But now, there were 2 experts like Xue Feng in the Sky Martial Sword faction. When Lu Ming fought Xue Feng, he had a hard time. He would definitely be no match for 2 of them. "Tianxia Academy, if you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish." A 4th level spiritual god realm middle-aged man from the Tianwu sword faction said coldly and domineeringly. "What big words." From Tianxia Academy, a man in his 30s stepped out with an explosive aura. This was the strongest person from the Tianxia Academy who had entered this time. He was also the number 1 genius of the previous generation and was at the same level as Xue Feng. It had to be said that the geniuses of the previous generation were far inferior to those of the current generation. Those who had awakened to the 7th level of the divine level could be considered the number 1 geniuses of their respective factions. He couldn't be compared to this generation's heaven's favorites. The difference was too big. It was as if all the transportation had been added to this generation, allowing this generation to enter a golden age. Haha, my two martial brothers, how about you count me in to kill Lu Shaoqing? With a sneer, a middle-aged man in a blood-red robe stepped through the air. It was Xue Feng. When he was injured by Lu Ming, he had been waiting for an opportunity to take revenge. Now that he saw Lu Ming going up against the people from the Heaven Martial Sword faction, how could he miss this great opportunity? Xue Feng, you've come at the right time. Let's join forces and kill this person. A young man from the Heavenly Martial Sword sect said. At this moment, everyone's eyes were focused on them. This Lu Shaoqing had offended so many people. It seemed that he would die today. At this moment, Fairy Tan Xiang, Kong Xian, and the white-robed man from Tianxia Academy all had ugly expressions. If it was only the Heavenly Martial Sword faction, they might still be able to fight. But with Xue Feng it would be difficult. You're all here. Just in time. Let's settle this today. Lu Ming smiled faintly and took a step forward, causing everyone to be stunned. What did he just say? In the face of such a situation, he actually said that he wanted to solivere it all at once. Was he crazy? Fairy Tan Xiang and the others were also stunned. Brother Lu. Fairy Tan Xiang called out. Fairy, Brother Kong, just leave this place to me. Lu Ming smiled at Fairy Tan Xiang and the others, then stepped forward and faced Xue Feng and the others. Brother Wu, this kid has a secret technique that is very evil. It can seal one's movements. Let's work together to kill him. Xue Feng whispered to the two experts from the Heavenly Martial Sword faction. All right. The two experts from the Sky Martial Sword faction nodded. They had heard from Wu Chengkong about the battle between Lu Ming and Xue Feng. They knew that Lu Ming was extraordinary and that he had a strong front. They did not dare to be careless. Boom, boom, boom. The two powerhouses from the Sky Martial Sword faction, Xue Feng, and the other two, all released their powerful auras at the same time. Their shocking auras soared into the sky and pressed down on Lu Ming. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The three of them moved and surrounded Lu Ming. The three of them are joining forces to deal with Lu Shaoqing? How could this be? Could it be that Lu Shaoqing's true combat strength is extremely powerful? Otherwise, why would Xue Feng and the others take him so seriously and need three people to work together? The crowd wasn't fools. They knew that something was amiss when they saw the reactions of Xue Feng and the other two. They were shocked by this guess. Other than the top 5 young geniuses, who else was worthy of Xue Feng and the others' attention? Brat, weren't you very arrogant? Let's see how you'll die. Xue Feng's eyes were cold. In the next moment, he activated his blood meridian and used blood meridian fusion to pounce on Lu Ming. Kill! Lu Ming bellowed as his third bloodline emerged. A wisp of energy surged into his body, turning his hair blood red, and his killing intent surged out like a tidal wave. At the same time, the 7 streams of dragon energy burst forth at the same time, increasing Lu Ming's strength to a terrifying level. The third bloodline turned into a blood-red sword in Lu Ming's hand. He swung the sword, and a blood-red sword light cut through the void, illuminating the sky and slashing at Xue Feng. This strength. At this moment, Xue Feng's eyes suddenly widened as he was terrified. This power was too shocking. It was much stronger than the last time he fought with Lu Ming, much stronger. Not good. Xue Feng's body turned cold as he tried his best to resist. But dash. With a pft sound, the sword light cut through, and the blood leopard that Xue Feng had transformed into had one of its claws cut off and flew far away. Xue Feng roared and quickly retreated. At this moment, the 2 experts from the Sky Martial Sword faction had also arrived. 2 vast sword gleams as large as mountains were slashing toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming swung his sword in reverse and destroyed the 2 sword gleams. He did not stop and rushed toward Xue Feng. Xue Feng was terrified and quickly retreated. You can't leave. Lu Ming sneered. He formed a hand seal and a door of light appeared. Chapter 1082. 1082 killing 3 great experts. The 9 seals of the gate of God appeared. It shone with light and pressed down on Xuefeng. Enveloped by the light of the gate of sealing, blood seal was frozen in the air. He tried his best to burst out his true essence in an attempt to break the door seal. However, Lu Ming's cultivation had now advanced to the 2nd level of the spiritual god realm. The door seal that he had condensed was even more powerful. For a moment, the blood seal could not be broken at all. No, no. He was extremely anxious and kept growling. Buzz! Lu Ming rushed over and the sword light slashed down. With a bang, the blood leopard was cut in half. Xuefeng's true body appeared, spitting out a large mouthful of blood and a deep wound on his chest. He wanted to retreat, but the sealing door was still there. He could not even retreat. No, no, spare my life. Xuefeng shouted in fear, but what greeted him was a sword light. Pucci! Xuefeng was split in half, and even the spiritual god in his body couldn't escape. All of this happened in the time it took for a spark to fly off a piece of flint. It happened so fast that many people didn't even have time to react. It was already too late for the 2 experts of the Sky Martial Sword faction to rescue him. Why would I? The 2 experts from the Heavenly Martial Sword faction were about to launch a fierce attack on Lu Ming. When they saw this scene, their pupils constricted and they subconsciously stopped in their tracks. CSI! Gasps could be heard all around. Xuefeng was dead. He was killed by Lu Ming in 2 moves. He could not put up any resistance at all. How was this possible? Xuefeng had awakened a 7th level divine level bloodline and his cultivation had already reached the 4th level of the spiritual god realm. His combat strength was absolutely terrifying, but he was easily killed by Lu Ming. It was unbelievable. Fairy Tan Xiang, Kong Xian, and the people from Medicine King's Valley and Tianxia Academy were also dumbfounded. They were completely stunned and couldn't believe this scene. Wu Qingkong was tongue-tied and almost scared to death. It had only been a few days. A few days ago, Lu Ming could only fight to a draw with Xuefeng. With the help of the sealing door, he barely had the upper hand. But now, he had completely crushed Xuefeng. It had only been a few days and Lu Ming's combat strength had increased by a huge margin. This was too shocking. Now, it's your turn. Lu Ming looked at the 2 experts from the Heavenly Sword faction. His blood-red hair fluttered in the wind, and his killing intent surged. The expressions of the 2 experts from the Heavenly Martial Sword School changed drastically, and they no longer had the confidence they had earlier. Brother Lu, in my opinion, this is all a misunderstanding. One of them revealed a smile that was uglier than crying. They were terrified that Lu Ming could kill Xuefeng in such a thunderous way even though he was surrounded by the 3 of them. Misunderstanding? No, there's no misunderstanding. I'm going to kill you today. I don't need a reason. Lu Ming said indifferently. In the next moment, he took a step forward and rushed toward the 2 of them like a bloody light. Damn it. Let's attack together and kill this brat. The 2 of them roared and activated their bloodlines at the same time, turning them into 2 huge combat swords. Without a doubt, both of them had 7th level divine level bloodlines and had comprehended divine level martial techniques. Their combat strength was extremely terrifying. Buzz. Whoosh. The sound of a sword rang out. The other experts of the Heavenly Sword faction all moved. Their combat swords were unsheathed, and their sword soared to the sky as they charged towards Lu Ming. Seal. The blood-red sword floated in his hands and formed a seal. A sealing gate flew out and covered a huge sword. In an instant, the huge sword could not move. Kill. Lu Ming wielded his combat sword and sent one of the combat swords flying. At the same time, he took a few steps forward and the terrifying power of the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps suddenly burst out. Boom, boom, boom. He took 7 steps and landed on the sword that was sealed by the door. The sword immediately collapsed and its body appeared. However, there was a flash of sword light and the head fell to the ground. This person's spiritual god flew out of his body in a panic and was extremely frightened. Bang, bang. Lu Ming's left hand executed the prison-suppressing heaven technique, and he struck out continuously. He held the blood sword in his right hand and executed the 5 styles massacre. Clang. The remaining 4th-level spiritual god realm expert's combat sword was sent flying, and the sword's body kept shaking. The blood-red sword slashed out tens of thousands of sword chi. The spiritual god that escaped let out a blood-curdling scream before turning into ashes. At the same time, a few experts from the Heavenly Sword faction who had rushed over were killed by the sword chi. Lu Ming transformed into a god of death and charged towards the last 4th-level spiritual god realm expert. Escape, escape, escape. At this moment, the person was scared out of his wits and was running for his life. Lu Ming was too powerful. In terms of strength alone, Lu Ming had completely surpassed him. Together with the sealing door, they were simply invincible. Where are you going? Lu Ming had his eyes on him. He dashed past him and killed a few more experts from the Heavenly Martial Sword faction. In an instant, Lu Ming closed in at top speed. He formed a seal with both hands and another sealing door appeared. The combat sword was instantly fixed in place. Lu Ming charged forward. No, spare me, help. The man roared, but the result was already decided. Lu Ming caught up and killed him with lightning-like methods. Since then, the 3 experts who wanted to kill Lu Ming were all killed by him. Not a single one was left alive. He even killed a few experts from the Sky Martial Sword School. When the other members of the Heavenly Martial Sword faction saw this, they were extremely frightened. How could they dare to fight? They all fled. So strong. The rest of the people at the scene looked at Lu Ming in shock. They were tongue-tied and completely speechless. Lu Ming's combat strength was too shocking to be able to kill 3 experts in succession. High up in the sky, Yang Padian and Tuoba Shi looked at Lu Ming with grave expressions. Before this, they had not paid attention to anyone else except for each other. However, Lu Ming had now attracted their attention. It seems that we have another opponent. Tuoba Shi licked his lips as his eyes gleamed with battle intent. Yang Potion's eyes flashed, but he didn't say anything. Just when everyone thought that the battle had ended, Lu Ming did not stop because there was still one person who had not died. Wu Qingkong. Wu Qingkong was running for his life, terrified. Damn it! How is this Lu Shaoqing so terrifying? His combat strength is rising too quickly. When we get out of here, I'll have the powerful cultivators in the sect kill him. He can't be allowed to live. All kinds of vengeful thoughts swirled in Wu Qingkong's mind. Suddenly, he heard a whooshing sound. He looked back in shock and saw that Lu Ming had already arrived behind him. Boom! Lu Ming could not be bothered to waste his breath on him. He threw a punch and shattered Wu Qingkong into pieces. However, Wu Qingkong obviously had a destiny talisman. With a flash of white light, the destiny talisman wrapped him up and he disappeared in the air. Lu Ming snorted coldly and flew back to his original spot. At that moment, everyone looked at Lu Ming with respect. He was too powerful. Lu Ming's combat strength was far above that of an ordinary second-grade heaven's favorite. His combat strength was already on par with the 5 magnates. It seemed that there would be another young giant in the world. Brother Lu. Fairy Tan Xiang's beautiful eyes flickered as she looked at Lu Ming. She was at a loss for words. Oh, I just happened to have a breakthrough in my cultivation when I left 2 days ago. Lu Ming explained. Fairy Tan Xiang and Kong Xen roared in their hearts. This was too abnormal. He had broken through after leaving for 2 days. This was too fast. It was really infuriating to compare. Chapter 1083. 1083 The Real Token of the Saint Mansion. Tianxia Academy, outside the Wanxiang Jade Wall. The space moved, and Wu Qingkong appeared in a flash of white light. Ah, damn it! Wu Qingkong roared as soon as he appeared. Everyone's eyes turned to him in unison. Qingkong, what's going on? A supreme martial artist from the Tianwu sword faction looked at Wu Qingkong and asked with a frown. Wu Qingkong had been killed, which meant that the 2 elites of the Tianwu sword faction had both died in the battle. Lu Shaoqing. It's that bastard Lu Shaoqing. Wu Qingkong roared like a wild beast. What? Lu Shaoqing again? Lu Shaoqing is a killer. First, he killed the Cold Blood Hall disciples and many other masters. Then he killed Wu Tsang and now, even Wu Qingkong. Hee, two heaven's favorites from the Heavenly Martial Sword faction died at the hands of the same person. Interesting. Cold Blood Hall's face darkened. Why did they have to be involvered every time Lu Shaoqing was mentioned? Lu Shaoqing again. But you're not with Wulong and the others? The supreme martial artist from the Heavenly Martial Sword faction asked. The Wulong he was talking about was the #1 heaven's favorite of the previous generation of the Heavenly Martial Sword faction. Wulong and the others have been killed. They're dead. Wu Qingkong said through gritted teeth. What? Wulong and the others were also dead. Who was it? Could it be Yang Padian? The supreme martial artist from the Heavenly Martial Sword School shouted angrily, thinking that it was Yang Padian who had done it. No, it's Lu Shaoqing. It's all his doing. Senior brothers Wu Long, Wu Kai, and Xue Feng were supposed to work together to kill Lu Shaoqing, but they were killed by him instead. It's all his doing. Wu Qingkong's face was twisted as he explained the situation. The scene suddenly became quiet. Everyone's faces were filled with shock. Lu Shaoqing was the one who had done all of this. He had managed to achieve such a feat despite the combined efforts of 3 powerful experts. This was simply too shocking. Another big shot. An old man sighed. The people of Cold Blood Hall wanted to cry. It was so sad that they had sent such a god of death with them. The secret realm of the Saint Mansion. Buzz. At this moment, the giant mountain was shaking and the light was even more dazzling. Everyone's attention was drawn back to the giant mountain. Lu Ming's eyes also fell on the huge mountain. He did not devour the blood essence of Xue Feng and the others because the Emperor God was here. His devouring method was too obvious and he was afraid that the Emperor God would notice something. Now was not the time to reveal his identity. The light from the huge mountain became more and more brilliant. In the end, 9 rays of purple light shot out. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Suddenly, a token flew out from each of the purple lights. The token of the Saint Mansion, it's the token of the Saint Mansion. Snatch it. There are 9 pieces, this one is mine. Instantly, the scene was in chaos. All kinds of auras burst out and rushed toward the 9 tokens. There was no doubt that the token that rushed out of the mountain was the real token of the Saint Mansion. Get lost. Yang Padian shouted in anger. His momentum was astonishing. He swept out his halberd, and dozens of experts screamed as they were cut in half and died on the spot. Yang Padian grabbed a token of the Saint Mansion in his hand and scanned the surroundings with lightning-like eyes. Everyone was shocked and didn't dare to step forward. On the other side, Tuoba Shur waved his mace and smashed a bunch of people into meat paste. He then grabbed a Saint Mansion token. The others sighed. Knowing these 2 tokens, they could forget about it. I'm back in this piece. Lu Ming stepped forward and rushed to the nearest Saint Mansion token. His terrifying killing intent burst out. Many people were enveloped by his killing intent and retreated quickly, not daring to fight with Lu Ming. The power that Lu Ming had created earlier was too strong. Lu Ming grabbed a Holy Mansion token. Yang Padian, Tuoba Shur, and Lu Ming each had a token. The others did not dare to fight with the 3 of them and could only target the others. This was a bloody battle and it was extremely intense. The experts of the major forces went all out to fight for the tokens. A palace left behind by an existence above the emperor level was too alluring and attractive. Even an emperor would go crazy if he came, let alone them. People were constantly killed, and corpses fell like rain. In the end, everyone from the Ji family gathered. Under the leadership of a 4th-level spiritual god realm expert, they seized a token. The Tianxia Academy and the Valley of Medicine Masters joined forces and also seized a token under the leadership of a 4th-level spiritual god realm master. Demon Mountain obtained a token. The most surprising thing was that the Emperor God had seized a token with the help of the Space Intent Realm. He was so fast that no one could stop him. There was also a baby-faced monk with big fluttering sleeves who looked harmless. He killed a group of experts with a single palm strike and seized a token. It was a shocking scene. Even Yang Padian and Tuoba Ashur looked at this monk with a solemn expression. The holy monk of the western desert. Yang Padian muttered to himself. It's that unscrupulous monk again. Lu Ming muttered. The last token was in the hands of the Floating Mountain sect. As for Cold Blood Hall, Sky Eagle Fort, and Sky Martial Sword School, they were very unwilling to lose their tokens because their leaders had died in battle. Those who had obtained the tokens were divided into several areas, far away from the others. The others were helpless. Although they were burning with excitement, those who had obtained the tokens now were all very powerful. Only the Emperor God seemed to be the weakest, but he had the space mentality, so no one could catch him. This is the token of the Saint Mansion. With this token, you can enter the Saint Mansion. Lu Ming sized up the token in his hand and channeled his essential core. Buzz! The token of the Saint Mansion suddenly trembled and glowed. A circle of light enveloped Lu Ming. Other than that, there were 3 more circles of light floating around him. Why are there 3 more rings of light? Lu Ming was a little surprised. At this time, the others also realized the problem. As long as they injected their vital essence, 4 rings of light would appear on the token of the Saint Mansion. 1 of them would cover them, and 3 more would appear. I know. These 3 rings of light represent that I can bring 3 more people in. That should be the case. I'm guessing that there's a large array set up around the Saint Mansion, and only those who are covered by this light circle can enter. Some of them shouted, and their eyes lit up. Wouldn't there be 27 more spots? Many people looked at those who had obtained tokens, especially Yang Padian. Emperor gods had obtained tokens by them Slaviers, so they had extra spots. Brother D, I'm willing to pay a high price to buy 3 slots. Is that possible? Een Bupo from the Sky Eagle Castle looked at the Divine Emperor and spoke first. Een Bupo, your appetite is too big. You want to buy 3 spots. Can you swallow it? Some people were unhappy and wanted to buy a quota from the Emperor God. Brother Yang. Some people looked at Yang Padian, wanting to buy a spot from him. Get lost. Yang Padian coldly spat out. Those people could only retreat. As for Tuoba Ashur's side, there were a few other Northern Plains Heaven's favorites who had already taken up the spots. Chapter 1084. 1084 Chapter 1084 Fighting a Giant in the Saint Mansion. As for the G family, Floating Mountain, Demon Mountain, and Tianxia Academy, they didn't even have enough for them Slaviers, so they naturally wouldn't sell it. For the time being, only Lu Ming, the unscrupulous monk, and the Emperor and God could use the spots. Brother Lu. Fairy Tan Xiang looked over. I'll give my place to the Valley of the Medicine Masters and the Tianxia Academy. Lu Ming smiled. The people from Medicine King's Valley and Tianxia Academy were overjoyed. This way, they had 3 more places. In the end, the Emperor God sold the 3 spots. The unscrupulous monk smiled and made a huge profit, selling the 3 spots as well. This way, excluding Yang Potion's 3 spots, there were a total of 33 people who could enter. Buzz! At this moment, the giant mountain was extremely bright. It formed a huge pillar of light that shot into the sky. The beam of light hit the palace in the sky, giving off a deafening roar. Boom! 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 The palace slowly appeared. At first, it seemed real and illusionary, but it slowly became real. After a few minutes, the palace had become completely real. It was filled with an ancient and vicissitude aura. It floated in the air like a huge city. It was extremely large and majestic. Buzz! Yang Padian was the first to move. It was as if he was traveling through space. His body moved, and his figure appeared in front of the palace. Then he stepped out and rushed in. Let's go, we can't let Yang Padian get there first. The other people who had a quota called out and rushed forward one after another, afraid that Yang Padian would beat them to it. If there were treasures in the Saint Mansion, the first one to enter would naturally get some benefits. Buzz! Bush! Dozens of figures, all shrouded in a circle of light, rushed towards the palace. Lu Ming and the rest were among them. In front of the palace, there was a door that was half open. Yang Padian was about to rush in. Charge! The rest of the people also rushed over. Nothing happened. Dozens of people rushed into the gate one after another. The others who didn't have a spot looked at each other. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. We don't need the token to enter. The token was spread by Tianxia Academy, so it might not be true. Someone said, his eyes burning with passion. That's right. I don't think anyone from Tianxia Academy has ever entered it. It's probably not true. Some others agreed. Charge! I don't believe it. Someone couldn't hold it in anymore and rushed into the palace. However, as he was flying, he suddenly let out a blood-curdling screech, and his entire body exploded just like that, turning into ashes. The others were dumbfounded. Gulu. Those who had said that they didn't believe what Tianxia Academy had said all took a deep breath and swallowed their saliva. Their faces were pale. If they had acted rashly just now and charged forward first, they would have been the ones to die. As soon as Lu Ming and the rest rushed in, they realized that they were in a huge corridor. It was very long and extended all the way to the front. What a strong pressure! As soon as they entered, everyone landed on the ground because of the powerful pressure. It was a no-fly zone, and their flight was stopped. Moreover, not only could they not fly, but the pressure on their bodies was also extremely great, causing their speed to slow down by more than 100 times. This is gravity. Lu Ming sensed it carefully and realized that it was gravity. The gravity was 100 times stronger than outside. Everyone circulated their true yuan and stepped forward. However, the gravity was too strong. Their speed was similar to that of an ordinary person's running. Compared to their original speed, it was a huge difference. As for the unscrupulous monk, his body was covered in golden light as he walked beside Lu Ming. The two of them had come in a little later, so they were slightly behind Yang Padian and his companion. Behind them were a few burly men. They were the strongest geniuses of the previous generation in their respective forces, and their cultivation had reached the 4th level of the spiritual god realm. Surprisingly, the Emperor God was also walking beside these people. He had the will of space, so he was under less pressure. As for second-grade heaven's favorites like Fairy Tan Xiang and Kong Xan, they were slightly behind. Everyone pushed forward with all their might. Slowly, they got used to the gravity here, and their speed became faster and faster. This journey took 2 days. Yang Padian was the first to walk out of the corridor and rush out. Stop right there. Tuoba Shur hollered and followed closely behind Yang Padian. Following that, Lu Ming and the unscrupulous monk also stepped out and walked out of the corridor. Boom! Boom! As soon as they walked out of the corridor, they heard a violent roar. In front of the corridor was a large hall, where Tuoba Shur and Yang Padian were engaged in an intense battle. The Heaven Scorcher halberd and the Wolf Fang club continued to exchange blows, and the deafening rumbles were deafening. On both sides of the hall, there were rows of shilaviers. On the shilaviers, there were some jade bottles, jade boxes, and boxes. It was obvious that the two of them were fighting for these items. This was the legendary Saint Mansion that surpassed the Emperor level. How precious would the things inside be? Without a second thought, Lu Ming and the heartless monk's eyes lit up and they rushed to the shilaviers on both sides. Get lost. You're looking for death. Yang Padian and Tuoba Shur roared as they charged at the two of them. Tuoba Shur attacked the heartless monk. He waved his mace and crushed the void like a mountain range. My hair is white, my Buddha is merciful. The heartless monk chanted the name of Buddha and his entire body emitted golden light. His appearance was solemn like the reincarnation of Buddha. He struck out a golden palm print and clashed with the Wolf Fang club. With a boom, it actually blocked Tuoba Shur's attack. The two of them began a great battle. On the other side, Yang Padian was charging toward Lu Ming. As the heavenly halberd slashed down, the space around it shattered. It even turned into spatial power that wrapped around the heavenly halberd, making it even more destructive. Lu Ming's 5-colored will surrounded him, and he had 7 streams of dragon energy on him. His blood-red hair fluttered in the wind. The combat sword formed by his 3rd bloodline changed and actually turned into a blood-red combat halberd. The 3rd bloodline was a drop of blood. It could change at will, be it a sword, a spear, a saber, a halberd, etc. It could change at will without a fixed shape. Clang! Lu Ming wielded the blood halberd and slashed down, clashing with Yang Potion's heavenly halberd. Clang! A terrifying tremor spread out, and the 2 figures swayed slightly. Then they began to fight again. Boom! 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 In the main hall, the 4 of them engaged in a peak battle. For a moment, it was difficult to determine who was superior. Peak of the 2nd level of the spiritual god realm. Lu Ming discovered that Yang Potion's cultivation was at the peak of the 2nd level of the spiritual god realm, not much higher than his. However, his combat strength was extremely terrifying. He was the strongest young expert that Lu Ming had ever encountered. The 4 of them were in a chaotic battle in the hall, and in the blink of an eye, they exchanged dozens of moves. Not far away, footsteps could be heard. It was obvious that the others were approaching. Chapter 1085. 1085 Chapter 1085 Emperor Weapon. The eyes of the 4 people flashed, and they abandoned their opponents almost at the same time, rushing toward the Shilavirs on both sides. They understood that they couldn't do anything to their opponents for the time being. If they continued to fight, the scene would become even more chaotic when more people appeared. Therefore, the 4 of them began to search for treasures on the Shilavirs at the same time. Lu Ming waved his hand and a white light emanated. It enveloped the jade bottles, jade boxes, and metal boxes on the Shilavirs. They were all stored into the mountain and river diagram. He didn't have time to see what it was, so he put it away first. The 4 of them went on a frenzied raid, and in just a few breaths, the items on the Shilavirs had been swept clean. The unscrupulous monk, in particular, had actually forcefully kept a shelf into his storage ring, leaving everyone speechless. However, Lu Ming and the rest soon followed suit and kept the shelf. At this moment, a few more figures rushed out of the corridor. They looked at the empty hall on both sides and were stunned. Buzz. Bush. At this moment, Lu Ming and the rest had already rushed into the depths of the hall. There was a huge door there. Charge! The few experts behind them, including the Emperor God, rushed forward at the same time and followed closely behind Lu Ming and the rest. After rushing through the door, there was another hall, but this one was bigger and empty. Opposite the hall, there was another door, from which a faint light emanated. Their eyes lit up and they quickly rushed in. It was still a large hall, but this hall was exceptionally wide. In the air above the hall, there were 4 balls of light, shining with a dazzling light. Those were 4 weapons floating in the air. They were of different colors, but they exuded a terrifying pressure. This is an Emperor's spiritual weapon. Yang Patian growled and immediately rushed towards one of the treasures. Lu Ming's eyes suddenly lit up. The so-called Emperor's spiritual weapon was the Emperor of spiritual weapons, just like the martial emperor of the martial artists, standing at the peak of many spiritual weapons. The Emperor's spiritual weapon was a top-grade 9th-level spiritual weapon. Even some emperors might not have one, as it had a domain that could assist them in battle. Even emperors would be envious of this place, let alone them. They immediately rushed toward one of the king's spiritual weapons. Lu Ming rushed towards a small fiery red pagoda. The pagoda seemed to be cast from fire jade and it emitted an astonishing amount of heat. An Emperor's spiritual weapon. Behind them, the other experts had also arrived. When they saw the Emperor's spiritual weapons, their eyes turned red with greed as they pounced on the 4 weapons. One of them pounced on Lu Ming. One of them was a brawny man in his 40s with a cultivation of the 4th level of the spiritual god realm. The other was an emperor god. However, Lu Ming was 1 step faster. His body was like a stream of light as he appeared in front of the small tower and reached out to grab it. However, just as Lu Ming was about to grab it, the small tower emitted a light circle. Lu Ming's grab did not go in. Inscription formation. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. This small tower was protected by an inscription array. However, Lu Ming felt that he could break it if he spent some time. Bang! Lu Ming changed his claw to a palm and struck the circle of light. Bang! The ring of light trembled, but it still blocked the attack. At that moment, the Emperor God and the brawny man rushed over. The Emperor's spiritual weapon is mine. The brawny man's eyes were red as he charged at the small tower. The Emperor God's sword hit the ring of light, but it was still intact. Get lost. Chapter 1086. 1086 Chapter 1086 Shocking Change. The other experts' expressions were unsightly, but they did not dare to continue snatching. Lu Ming's group of 4 were too powerful and were obviously stronger than them. If they went crazy and attacked them with all their might, they would be in danger. At that moment, no one dared to fight with Lu Ming and the rest. However, after a flash of light in their eyes, they bypassed Lu Ming and the others and rushed into the depths of the hall. There was another door there that led inside. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming continued to attack. His third bloodline turned into a combat sword and slashed at the light shield that protected the small tower. After dozens of attacks, he finally broke the light shield. Lu Ming was overjoyed. He grabbed the small pagoda. It's so hot. Lu Ming felt that his palm was about to be burnt and there was a meaty fragrance. Lu Ming quickly sent the small tower into the mountain and river diagram. Almost at the same time, Yang Patin and the others also broke the formation and kept the treasures. At the same time, the 4 of them spread out and rushed inside. There was another hall inside. Boom! 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 As soon as he entered the hall, he saw the few experts fighting fiercely. There was only one thing floating in the air of the hall. It was a jade plate. It was crystal clear and exuded a vast and endless pressure. This pressure was too shocking and surpassed everything. It was as if it was the incarnation of the entire heaven and earth. It was extremely terrifying and far exceeded the previous emperor's spiritual weapon. What kind of treasure is this? It's too shocking. Lu Ming was a little stunned. Yang Patin and the others were also stunned. Then their eyes lit up. Judging from its aura, it was beyond an emperor's spiritual weapon. It must be a peerless divine weapon used by someone who had surpassed a martial emperor. It seemed that the Tianxia Academy was right. This was indeed the mansion of someone who had surpassed a martial emperor. A divine weapon used by an existence beyond the martial emperor realm. How terrifying was that? Buzz. Whoosh. Almost at the same time, the 4 of them pounced toward the jade plate. Get lost. Kill. The attacks of these few people were blasted towards those experts. Their faces changed greatly, and they hurriedly blocked it, but retreated with injuries. Damn it. The few of them were furious and extremely aggrieved, but they were helpless. They were truly helpless. They were all Heaven's Pride experts of the previous generation. In their era, they were all-powerful figures. They were high and mighty, looking down on Heaven's Pride experts of the same generation. However, after 10 or 20 years, this generation had reached the golden age. Each and every Heaven's Pride expert was more brilliant than them by who knew how many times. Now, even the people of the younger generation were going to berate them and crush them. This made them feel a wave of sadness. This treasure is mine. Yang Potion's eyes flashed with cold killing intent. Ridiculous, who do you think you are? Tuoba Ashur shouted coldly, not giving Yang Patin any face at all. I think this treasure is fated with this poor monk. Please don't fight with this poor monk over it. The unscrupulous monk still had a smile on his face, but his fiery eyes betrayed him. Lu Ming could not be bothered to waste his breath on them. He dashed toward the jade plate. Boom! A golden palm print was aimed at Lu Ming. It was that unscrupulous monk. Benefactor, this treasure is really fated with this little monk. Why do you have to snatch it from this little monk? The monk said, Fate my ass. Stinky monk, get lost. Lu Ming slashed his sword at the heartless monk and it collided with the golden palm print. Almsgiver, don't be angry. The monk called out, but his palm didn't stop. His body glowed like a golden Buddha, and he struck out a few times with terrifying power. Stinky monk, don't pretend in front of me. It was you who used a fake Saint Mansion token to cause a war, right? Don't think that others don't know. I happened to see it. Lu Ming said loudly. The moment he said that, the monk's face froze. Yang Patin and Tuobashir, who were in the middle of a fierce battle, both stopped and looked at the unscrupulous monk with cold eyes. Chapter 1087. 1087. A Big Dream. The Woman in the Dream. Lu Ming felt that he was drifting in the eternal darkness. He did not know where he was drifting to. Slowly, his mind became more and more confused as if his memories were fading. Everything that had happened in the past seemed to have become blurry and slowly dissipated. Slowly, Lu Ming became ignorant. After an unknown period of time, Lu Ming suddenly sat up. With a creak, he found that he was sitting on a bed. Where is this place? What's wrong with me? I felt like I had a very long dream just now. Lu Ming looked at his surroundings in confusion. At this moment, the door opened and a beautiful young lady walked in. She was 14 to 15 years old and was very beautiful. When she saw that Lu Ming had woken up, she immediately smiled happily and cheered, "Brother Ming, you're finally awake. You really scared me." Yao, Looking at Lu Yao's worried expression, Lu Ming's heart felt warm. He then asked, "Yao, what happened to me? I remember I went to awaken my bloodline 3 days ago. What happened after that?" "Brother Ming, you went to awaken your bloodline 3 days ago. During the process, you suddenly fainted. You have been in a coma for 3 days. In these 3 days, you have been having nightmares and calling strange names like D. Brother Ming, are you okay?" Lu Yao was a little worried. "I'm fine. It's just a nightmare." Lu Ming smiled faintly. He really had a dream, a very, very long dream. But for some reason, the dream in his mind was getting more and more blurry, and he almost couldn't remember it. He only had a vague feeling that in that dream, Lu Yao left him, and he later obtained a treasure, cultivated into a strong man, and went on an adventure on the continent. He only had a vague impression of it, but the more he thought about it, the more blurry and ethereal the dream became. What a strange dream. Lu Ming smiled. He, Lu Ming, was just a useless young master in Fiery Wind City who could not cultivate. Why would he have such a strange dream? Yao, did I fail in my bloodline awakening? Lu Ming asked. Brother Ming. Lu Yao wanted to say something but stopped. Tell me I'm fine. Lu Ming smiled. Brother Ming, it's a failure, but it's fine. Even if you can't cultivate, you won't change in Yao's heart. My father and your mother have already discussed it. We'll hold our wedding in half a month. Lu Yao blinked his eyes and said. After he finished, he was a little shy and his face was a little red. The wedding will be held in half a month. Lu Ming was slightly stunned. At that moment, he did not know why, but he felt an inexplicable pain in his heart. A figure appeared in his mind. The figure was very blurry and he could not see its face clearly. It was someone he had met in his dream. It was a woman. A sense of reluctance surged in Lu Ming's heart. This figure seemed to be very important to him. Who was it? Why do I feel my heart ache? Was it really a dream? Lu Ming was stunned and mumbled to himself. Brother Ming, what happened? Don't scare Yao. Lu Yao called out. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He came to his senses and smiled. I'm fine. I'm just thinking about that dream again. Brother Ming, it's just a dream. Don't think too much and drink your medicine. Lu Yao picked up the medicine at the side and fed it to Lu Ming. At this moment, 2 people walked into the room. One was a beautiful woman, and the other was a beautiful teenage girl. Mother, Shu Yue. Lu Ming called out. Ming, have a good rest. You're going to be the groom in half a month. Li Ping smiled slightly and revealed a doting expression. That's right, young master. Chiyue wants to congratulate you. The young girl at the side said in a sweet voice. Chiyue. Lu Ming looked at Chiyue. In the dream, Chiyue seemed to have become a martial arts genius, but it was only a, seemingly, feeling. Lu Ming felt that the dream had become more muddled and was slowly fading away as time passed. Ming, you've just woken up, so you should rest well. Don't let your thoughts run wild. Li Ping said. Then she left the room with Chiyue and Lu Yao. That dream? That's strange. Who is that figure? In the room, Lu Ming was lying on the bed in a daze. Time passed very quickly. Chapter 1088. 1088 Saint Stage, Saint. Illusion? An illusion? I remember everything that happened to me clearly. How could I be in an illusion? Senior must be joking. Lu Ming frowned. What a joke. You're Lu Ming. In the real world, your bloodline was deprived by Lu Yao. Fortunately, you got the help of the broken soul of the 9 sons, merged with the blood essence of the 9 dragons, and awakened the bloodline of the 9 dragons. That's how you rose to power. Have you forgotten? The little turtle called out. What? Yao stole my bloodline? Impossible? How is that possible? You're spouting nonsense. Lu Ming had a look of disbelief on his face. However, after hearing what the little turtle said, the dream that he had in the past, the dream that was getting fainter and fainter, actually appeared again. It seemed to have become clearer. Nonsense. You won first place in the Battle of Providence and became the top 1,000 of the list of top 1,000 talents in the Eastern Barren Territory. You're the Zhongzi of the Talisman Amulet Sect. Now that the Talisman Amulet Sect is besieged by Martial Emperor Di and is in danger, are you going to just leave it be? Lu Ming's body trembled slightly with every word the little turtle said. His eyes were filled with complicated emotions and he was struggling. The Talisman Amulet Sect, the list of top 1,000 talents. Lu Ming mumbled to himself. He felt that the dream was becoming clearer and clearer, as if it was about to surface. What's his name? I think I had a dream before, and I also had a little turtle. Lu Ming's eyes were even more confused. As the dream slowly emerged, he was in the intersection of the dream and reality. He could not tell which was real and which was fake. Perhaps everything was just a dream. The little turtle's eyes went wide, and he finally cried out. It's fucking called Dandan and you named it, you bastard. It's so fucking unpleasant to hear. Dandan. Lu Ming muttered to himself and seemed to have thought of something. Also, are you not going to care about your little lover and wife, Xian Yanqing? She was captured by her father and her life is uncertain now. You're giving up just like that? Dandan shouted. Boom, boom, boom. Xian Yanqing's name exploded in Lu Ming's mind like thunder. The figure that could not be erased, the figure that made one's heart ache at the thought of it, suddenly became clear and vivid in Lu Ming's mind. Following that, the dream became clear in Lu Ming's mind. Nianqing, right, I'm now in the secret realm of the Saint Mansion of the Tianxia Academy. This is an illusion. Lu Ming's eyes suddenly lit up and emitted an endless glow. Real and fake, fake and real. Everything is an illusion. My heart won't move. Lu Ming suddenly shouted and threw a punch. Voila! The surrounding scene seemed to have been shattered by Lu Ming's punch. It began to peel away and finally disappeared completely. Lu Ming realized that he was standing in a long corridor. Dan was lying on his shoulder. What a powerful illusion! Lu Ming heaved a long sigh of relief. He was extremely shocked. That illusion was too powerful. It erased his true memories and made him fall into an eternal illusion, unable to extricate himself. This time, it was really dangerous. If it wasn't for the fact that he was in danger, he might really be trapped in the illusion forever. That would be equivalent to death. At the thought of this, Lu Ming could not help but feel a little scared. His back was drenched in cold sweat. Kid, this place is no small matter. An emperor would definitely not be able to do it. Be careful, I'm hiding. After saying that, Dandan automatically entered the mountain and river diagram. Lu Ming scanned his surroundings. He remembered that they had been swallowed by a vortex previously. However, he was the only one around. The figure sat cross-legged in the air, and the bead was right in the middle of the figure's eyebrows. The figure was not very burly, but the aura it exuded was earth-shattering. It gave Lu Ming the feeling that he was facing the heavenly Tao. The vast might of heaven filled the air. It was irresistible and irresistible. This was Lu Ming's intuitive feeling. When he faced this figure, it was as if he was facing the entire world. It was not that Lu Ming had not felt the majesty of an emperor. The pressure that an emperor emitted was simply child's play compared to this figure. It was as if the emperor was an ant in front of this figure. Gulu. Lu Ming swallowed his saliva and raised his head with difficulty to look at the figure. Fortunately, the unparalleled aura was retracted as soon as it was released. The figure opened its eyes and looked at Lu Ming. At this moment, Lu Ming seemed to be completely seen through. To actually be able to pass through the illusionary realm I set up, not bad. The figure said. Junior Lu Ming pays his respects to Senior. Lu Ming bowed. He knew that the person in front of him was most likely the legendary existence above the emperor level in Tianxia Academy. He was shocked. It was said that the Saint Mansion's secret realm had existed for hundreds of thousands of years. Could this person have lived for hundreds of thousands of years? This was really unimaginable. The figure seemed to have read Lu Ming's mind and said, "Little guy, don't think too much. I can't live that long. What you see is just the saint heart I left behind and a trace of my origin mark. The real me has been dead for many years." Saint heart. Lu Ming was puzzled. He had no idea what the saint heart was. Yes, it's normal that you don't understand. You're located in a remote area on a desolate island, so it's normal that you don't know. Above the emperor realm is the saint realm, also known as the saint realm, which condenses the saint heart. The elder said. The figure casually explained. Saint stage, saint. Lu Ming mumbled to himself. He finally knew what was the realm above the emperor realm. It was the saint, the saint. The figure in front of him must be a saint. Yes, you have great luck. Unfortunately, you are not an inscription master. I became a saint through the Tao of inscription when I was alive. Otherwise, I could pass on my legacy to you. The figure suddenly sighed. Inscriber, inheritance. Lu Ming's eyes were glowing. Although he was not an inscriber, his second body was. His second body had no other thoughts and focused on the Tao of inscriber. Now, he had advanced to an extremely profound realm. It would be great if he was here. Senior, did the others not pass the illusion? Lu Ming asked. No, they all failed, but I won't really make things difficult for them. I've already made them wake up. Look. The saint waved his hand, and images suddenly appeared in the air. He saw Yang Padian, Tuoba Shur, the unscrupulous monk, Kong Xian, and the others in their respective secret rooms, looking around. Fairy Tan Xiang. Lu Ming noticed that Fairy Tan Xiang was the most special. She was sitting cross-legged in a secret room, her entire body glowing, and the Esilavir mental energy fire between her brows was dancing. Chapter 1089. 1089 The Saint's Legacy. This little girl is very talented in the Tao of inscription. Unfortunately, she's still a little lacking. I'll give her some benefits and hope that she can gain something. The saint said. Lu Ming was happy for Fairy Tan Xiang. Although this person had already passed away, he had been a saint when he was alive, an existence that had surpassed emperors. If he said that he had given them some benefits, it was definitely not a small matter. Even emperors would be envious. All right, little guy, since you can come here and pass my test, I won't let you return empty-handed. I'll give you some benefits and then send you out. With that, the saint waved his hand, and those images disappeared without a trace. Senior, wait a moment, this junior might be able to inherit Senior's mantle. Lu Ming said hurriedly. Hee little fellow, don't talk nonsense. I see that you don't have any mental energy fire at all, So how can you inherit my legacy? The saint smiled indifferently. Has Senior ever heard of the twin forbidden spell? Lu Ming said. Twin forbidden spell? The saint frowned slightly, looking confused. He had obviously never heard of it. Senior, the twin forbidden art is able to cultivate a second body. Lu Ming then told her about the twin forbidden technique and what he had learned. When the saint first heard that the twin forbidden technique could actually cultivate a clone that was the same as the original and could be cultivated wholeheartedly, he was extremely shocked. He had never heard of such a strange technique in the world. After hearing that Lu Ming had obtained it in the Battle of Providence, he was relieved. It wasn't strange for one to encounter any kind of fortuitous encounter in the Battle of Providence. This was because this saint had also participated in the Battle of Providence when he was young. There's actually such a secret technique in the world. According to what you've said, not only did your second body inherit your talent, but it also has no distracting thoughts. In this case, it's really suitable for my legacy. The saint sighed, his eyes bright. Back then, due to an accident, he was heavily injured and on the verge of death. He escaped to the divine wilderness continent and searched for this mystic realm. In order to hide from his enemies, he still died here in the end, leaving behind his saint heart and a trace of his mark. The mark was attached to the saint's heart, which was why it had been preserved for so many years, but it would disappear sooner or later. When a powerhouse was about to die, they did not wish for their lifetime of cultivation and achievements to go to waste. They all wanted to find a suitable successor to pass on their legacy. Lu Ming was undoubtedly the most suitable. But Senior, my second body is currently trapped in a place by an enemy. I'm afraid he won't be able to come for the time being. Lu Ming sighed. Oh, how about this? Take this formation plate. As long as you give it to your clone and have him activate the inscriptions on it, you'll be able to directly teleport here. The saint took out an array disc and handed it to Lu Ming. Lu Ming received it in joy and thanked the saint again. Yes, my name is Tianxian. You can call me the Tianxian saint. That's all. I'll send you out now. There's no need to open this secret realm in the future. I'll seal it forever and no one will be able to enter. The profound sky saint was about to send Lu Ming and the rest out. Senior, please wait. Lu Ming called out hurriedly. What? The profound sky saint was stunned. Allow me to change my appearance. Junior still has enemies outside. Lu Ming chuckled and his body transformed again. After a while, his body became thinner and he turned into a young man with a pale face. Even his aura had changed greatly. No one could recognize him now. All right, I'm done. Lu Ming said. The profound sky saint waved his hand, and the space twisted. Lu Ming felt a force pulling him, and his body instantly disappeared. At this moment, Goddess Tan Xiang, Yang Padian, and the others, as well as the people outside the Saint Mansion, were all enveloped by a force and disappeared. Tianxia Academy, outside the Wanxiang Jade Wall. The 9 beams of light suddenly disappeared without a trace, and the Myriad Elephant Jade Wall returned to its calm state. In fact, those secret realms could be considered a part of the Holy City. With those secret realms, the Holy City's scope was terrifyingly large. No one knew how many powerful cultivators were hidden in those secret realms or how many secrets they contained. Therefore, although the ancient Saint dynasty of the Central Continent had declined, it was still the most powerful force in the Central Continent. No one dared to underestimate it. We've been recruiting for the past half a month, so we can give it a try. However, the Imperial Dragon Guard's recruitment requirements are very high. Without a cultivation of the spirit embryo realm, it's impossible to enter. Lu Ming continued to listen and indeed he heard a lot of news. The Imperial Dragon Guards? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. The Imperial Dragon Guards were the Imperial Guards of the ancient Saint dynasty. They were responsible for guarding the palace and protecting the safety of the royal family. Didn't he want to sneak into the palace? Wouldn't it be fine if he joined the Imperial Dragon Guards? However, The Imperial Dragon Guard was to guard the palace and protect the royal family. Their identities had to be thoroughly investigated before they could join. Otherwise, if anyone could join, then wouldn't the safety of the royal family be at risk? Lu Ming's gaze shifted. He picked up his wine glass and walked towards a table at the side. "Two big brothers, please. I heard you say that you wanted to join the Imperial Dragon Guards, right?" Lu Ming raised his glass and smiled. At this table, there were two burly men. One looked to be in his 40s, and the other looked to be in his 30s with a full beard. "That's right. What can I do for you, little brother?" The strong man with a full beard looked at Lu Ming and asked. "This little brother comes from a small force and has just entered the holy city. I want to find a job and join the Imperial Dragon Guards. I heard the two of you talking about this matter just now. Perhaps we can work together in the future, so I wanted to make friends with you," Lu Ming said with a smile. Upon hearing Lu Ming's words, their expressions relaxed and they smiled. "He's the one who wants to join, so I won't go. However, little brother, the conditions to join the Imperial Dragon Guards aren't low. You need to be at the spirit embryo realm." The 40-odd tough man laughed. "That's just as well. This little brother has just broken through to the spirit embryo realm. It's just in time to give it a try." With that, Lu Ming's body emitted a faint aura. It was the aura of the first-level spirit embryo realm. Not only could the illusionary breath technique change one's aura, but it could also hide one's cultivation. Now, Lu Ming was hiding his cultivation to the first level of the spirit embryo realm. When they realized that Lu Ming's cultivation was only at the first-level spirit embryo realm, the two of them were even more relieved. The burly man with a full beard said, "Little brother, you're so young, yet you're able to reach the first level of spirit embryo realm. You can be considered a heaven's favorite. I'm impressed. You're overpraising me, big brothers. Come, let's drink to our hearts' content," Lu Ming said generously. How can I accept this?" The man in his 40s laughed. This was the holy city. The food and wine in any restaurant were not cheap. Since Lu Ming was treating them, the two of them had a better impression of him. The three of them continued drinking. Lu Ming was new to the holy city and did not know much about it. He asked the two of them for advice and they told him everything they knew. Lu Ming learned that the two of them came from a small force outside the holy city called the Black Spear sect. They were not far from the holy city and often came to the holy city to purchase items. The man in his 40s was called Ma Wu, and the man in his 30s with a full beard was called Ming Lu. "Ming Lu, what a coincidence. My name is read backwards, isn't that Ming Lu?" Lu Ming's lips curled into a smile. The three of them chatted and drank. After 3 rounds of drinking, Ma Wu and Ming Lu drank to their heart's content. "Junior brother Ming Lu, since you want to join the Imperial Dragon Guard, then stay here and sign up with little brother Lu. I'll return to the sect first and tell you about your matter. If you work in the Imperial Dragon Guard, it'll be much more convenient for our Black Spear sect in the future." Ma Wu said, "All right, senior brother Ma, you can go back first. I'll go and register tomorrow." Ming Lu nodded. After that, Ma Wu bade farewell and left. Lu Ming and Ming Lu found an inn nearby to stay in and planned to register the next day. Very soon night fell. Lu Ming concealed his aura and entered Ming Lu's room without a sound. "Who?" There are many more in the Imperial Dragon Guard who are stronger than you. Any one of them can easily suppress you. Do you understand? After saying that, Shi Fang's gaze swept across Lu Ming. The skinny monkey-like middle-aged man took the storage ring. When he saw Lu Ming, he chuckled and walked over to him. "You're Ming Lu?" "Not bad," Lu Ming said. "I was just about to look for you. Since you have joined the Imperial Dragon Guard, General Shi Fang will take care of you in the future, allowing you to reap the greatest benefits and lead a good life. However, General Shi Fang can't work for free. You have to show some appreciation, understand?" The skinny monkey-like middle-aged man stretched out his hand and pinched his fingers. He then chuckled. The corners of Lu Ming's lips curled up. He understood now. It turned out that this skinny monkey was sent by Shi Fang to collect benefits. Needless to say, every new member would be patronized. He was really greedy. "Tell me, how much do you want?" Lu Ming said. "You're the deputy. You have a higher position, so of course, you have to pay more. The others are worth 50,000 raw stones, so you can just give them 200,000. Skinny monkey chuckled. 50,000? 200,000? The smile at the corners of Lu Ming's mouth grew wider. That was really ruthless. An average person would need 50,000 origin stones. To an ordinary spirit embryo realm martial artist, this was definitely a huge burden. And to him, he asked for 200,000. This was 200,000 raw gemstones. It was not a small amount, and it was difficult for a normal spirit embryo realm to take it out. It was a lion's mouth. "Unfortunately, I don't have that many raw gemstones. Please leave." Lu Ming said indifferently. "No? Don't try to fool me. You're a 7th level spirit embryo realm martial artist. Do you really think that you don't have 200,000 yuan in your entire fortune?" The skinny monkey-like middle-aged man sneered. "Oh, even if I have 200,000 yuan, if I give it all to you, what will I use to cultivate?" Lu Ming said. "I don't care about this. It's your own business. If you can't take it out, you'd better get out of the Imperial Dragon Guard as soon as possible. Otherwise, without the protection of the chief commander, you won't even know how you died in the future." The skinny monkey-like middle-aged man's face was gloomy as he threatened. Hee. Lu Ming was so angry that he laughed and said, "I need Shi Fang's protection. What a joke. All right, get lost now, or I'll throw you out." "How dare you laugh at the chief commander? You're so bold. You're looking for death." The skinny monkey-like middle-aged man shouted. "Get lost. You're courting death." Lu Ming bellowed and took a step forward. His terrifying aura exploded and pressed down on the skinny monkey-like middle-aged man. The skinny monkey-like middle-aged man trembled as if he had been struck by lightning. He took a few steps back and spat out a mouthful of blood. "Ming, just you wait, you're dead." The skinny monkey-like middle-aged man ran out with a face full of resentment. In the blink of an eye, he had disappeared. "Vice Commander, if you offend him like this, I'm afraid Shi Fang will come later." Sigh. Sun Lin sighed, a little worried. "He's just a clown, what's there to be afraid of?" Lu Ming said casually. "Shi Fang is fine. However, his elder brother is the 8th Prince's personal bodyguard, a 1st-level spiritual god realm expert." Sun Lin said, a hint of fear in his eyes. If a spiritual god realm master wanted to kill them, it would be no different from killing an ant. Oh, Lu Ming replied indifferently. He looked calm and sat down on a stone bench in the courtyard casually as if nothing had happened. Sun Lin was full of worry. After a while, boom! The door to the courtyard was blasted open. Shi Fang walked in with a few trusted aides, his face dark. "Minglu, you injured the other Imperial Dragon Guards for no reason. I suspect you have ulterior motives. Why aren't you obediently kneeling down to accept your punishment?" Shi Fang shouted loudly, directly pinning a crime on Lu Ming. Lu Ming glanced at Shi Fang indifferently and said, "What an idiot. I'll give you 3 breaths of time to get lost." "How dare you? You dare to offend your superior, and your crime will be doubled. Your cultivation will be crippled, and you will be expelled from the Imperial Dragon Guards." Shi Fang shouted. Hee, Shi Fang, why don't you try?" Lu Ming smiled faintly. Chapter 1094. 1094 Get out of here. You still dare to resist?" Shi Fang said in a deep voice. He did not believe that Lu Ming would dare to resist. Shi Fang's elder brother was a 1st-level spiritual god realm expert and the 8th Prince's personal guard. If Lu Ming dared to lay a hand on him, he would be courting death. Moreover, he had learned a rather powerful martial arts technique from his brother. He was also quite talented. Even if Lu Ming's cultivation was 1 level higher than his, he was not afraid to fight him. Lu Ming did not answer Shifeng. Instead, he stood up and walked toward Shifeng. 3 breaths have passed. It seems like I have to do it myself and throw you out. How dare you? You really dare to attack me? Everyone, let's attack together and suppress this person. That Shifeng shouted angrily. His aura burst out and he charged at Lu Ming. Besides Shifeng, the other 3 also made their moves. Their auras erupted, and they were actually all at the 6th level spirit embryo realm. These few people were the strongest in this banner, and they usually followed Shifeng's lead. The 4 of them joined forces and their momentum was not weak. However, in Lu Ming's eyes, they were no different from children playing house. Bang! Bang! Lu Ming kicked. The moment this kick was kicked, it turned into 4-leg shadows. Bang! 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 All the attacks of Shifeng and the other 3 turned into bubbles under Lu Ming's feet. The soles of Lu Ming's feet were imprinted on their faces. With 4 screams, Shifeng and the other 3 were sent flying out of the yard like 4 cannonballs. Their screams echoed in the night sky, and then they flew further and further away. There was still the skinny monkey-like middle-aged man who hadn't left. At this moment, his eyes were almost popping out of their sockets. His entire body was trembling non-stop, and his face was pale. He was scared. He did not expect Lu Ming to be so bold that he even dared to hit Shifeng. Most importantly, he did not expect that Lu Ming not only dared to fight, but his combat strength was also so strong. He sent Shifeng and the other 3 flying with 1 kick. Although Lu Ming's cultivation was 1 level higher than Shifeng's group of 4, Shifeng's group had 4 people, yet they were unable to put up any resistance. It could be seen that Lu Ming's combat strength was stronger than an ordinary 7th level spirit embryo realm. At this moment, he looked at Lu Ming in fear. Get lost. Lu Ming berated. Yes, I'll get lost now. The skinny monkey-like middle-aged man turned around and was about to leave. I told you to get lost, not to leave. Lu Ming said coldly. This? The skinny monkey-like middle-aged man's face was pale. It seems like I have to do it myself. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. Don't. The skinny monkey-like middle-aged man was so scared that he almost peed his pants. He could only lie on the ground in humiliation and roll out of the courtyard. Then he got up and ran away. Vice Commander, I'm afraid he won't let you off the hook for offending Shifeng. Sun Lin was full of worry. He was not worried about Lu Ming. He was afraid that he would be implicated by Lu Ming. What are you afraid of? Lu Ming said casually and went back to his room to cultivate. With a wave of his hand, many bottles, jade boxes, and iron boxes appeared in the room. There were more than 100 of them, all of which he had obtained from the Saint Mansion in the secret realm. Lu Ming did not check it previously. Now was the perfect time to check it. This is a spirit refining pill. Lu Ming was overjoyed when he saw the jade bottles. Those jade bottles were actually spirit refining pills. The spirit refining pill was made from the main ingredients of the spirit refining fruit. If it was frequently consumed by a perfected spirit embryo, it could greatly increase the chances of breaking through to the spirit god realm. If a spirit god powerhouse consumed it, it could condense the spirit god and strengthen their spiritual consciousness. There were dozens of jade bottles here, all of which were filled with spirit refining pills. There were 9 pills in each jade bottle, and there were at least a few hundred spirit refining pills in there. Following that, Lu Ming looked at other things. Many of the others were elixirs, very precious elixirs, and most of them were not inferior to the spirit refining elixir. There were also various precious materials that Lu Ming could not name. He kept them away. Finally, with a thought, a small fiery red pagoda appeared. An emperor's spiritual weapon. As soon as the fiery red tower appeared, it trembled slightly as if it was about to leave. However, Lu Ming's essential core spread out and enveloped the small tower. If I refine an emperor weapon, it will definitely increase my strength. However, it won't be that easy. With my current cultivation, even if I refine it, I won't be able to unleash much of its power. I'll wait until I have some free time to refine it. At the thought of this, Lu Ming kept the small pagoda. Then, he took out the spirit refinement elixir and refined it to condense his spirit soul. Time slowly passed. Tonight, there was no movement. The next day, during the day, there was also no movement. On the second night, Lu Ming made his move. He asked Dandan to inscribe an array that could conceal his aura for him, and his body cut through the void like a ghost, heading towards the 8th Prince Xiezhen's mansion. Lu Ming planned to enter Xiezhen's residence to see if he could find out anything about Xianyanqing. The 8th Prince's residence was naturally guarded by the Imperial Dragon Guards. However, with Lu Ming's current cultivation and the aura-concealing formation that he had set up, the Imperial Dragon Guards could not detect him at all. The 8th Prince's mansion was huge, with many palaces and pavilions. Lu Ming spread out his spiritual sense to check his surroundings. After a while, his eyes lit up. He moved and appeared above a palace. He scanned the area with his spiritual sense, and the situation below the palace was imprinted in his mind. It was clearer than what he could see with his eyes. This was the wonder of spiritual sense. Below, in a room, 2 figures were discussing something. One of them was Shi Fang, and the other was in his 50s. He was burly and looked quite dignified. "Big brother, you have to avenge me. That new deputy is so arrogant that he even dared to hit me. He's obviously not giving you face." Shi Fang cried. This burly man in his 50s was the 8th Prince's personal bodyguard, a first-level spiritual god realm expert. However, Lu Ming's current cultivation was at the 2nd level of the spiritual god realm. The spiritual god he cultivated was very powerful, and his spiritual consciousness was powerful. How could the other party discover him? I know about this. This Ming Lu is really bold. However, I'm a spiritual god realm expert and the 8th Prince's personal guard. If I attack him directly, I'm afraid I will be criticized by the others. How about this? I have a way to get rid of him. Having said that, Shi Fang's elder brother began to use voice transmission. Lu Ming could not hear the rest. "Hee, I'd like to see how you're going to get rid of me." Lu Ming sneered. Then he left the place in search of the 8th Prince's residence. Not long after, Lu Ming finally found the 8th Prince in the depths of the mansion. The 8th Prince was indeed Xiezhen. After not seeing him for a few years, Xiezhen had matured a little, and his cultivation had also become much stronger. At this moment, Xiezhen was high up in the air, sitting on top of a large hall. Below him, a few people were kneeling there, reporting to him. Bang! Xiezhen suddenly slammed the table and shouted coldly, "What? They failed again, what a bunch of trash." 8th Prince. Although the 16th Princess is in the Abyss Demon Realm, her talent is too high, and her cultivation progress is too terrifying. All the people we sent were killed by her. One of them answered. Chapter 1095. 1095 News of Xianyanqing. The 16th Princess? Little Qing? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat and his eyes suddenly revealed a cold killing intent. From what he had just said, Xianyanqing was in the demon realm. Moreover, Xiezhen had sent people to kill him. At that moment, Lu Ming's killing intent was extremely strong. However, he felt as if a huge rock had been lifted off his chest. At least, Xianyanqing was fine and alive. Humph, I really don't know what my father is thinking. She's an alien, a bitch born of a lowly servant. My father didn't kill her directly or suppress her in the demonic flames of the Abyss Demon Realm, but just imprisoned her in the Abyss Demon Realm and let her fight with the demonic creatures. She's really lucky. Xiezhen's face was dark and his voice was cold. 8th Prince, what should we do next? One of them asked. This bitch hates me to the bone. If I let her live, I'll always feel uneasy. Xiezhen said with a cold face. 8th Prince, in my opinion, you don't need to worry too much. His Majesty the Sage Emperor didn't kill her, most likely because of the father-daughter relationship. However, the 16th Princess is a rare species after all, and is a great taboo for our Sage Emperor clan. Even if His Majesty didn't kill her, he wouldn't let her out of the Abyss Demon Realm. She will most likely spend her life in the Abyss Demon Realm. Below, a person said. That may be the case, but this bitch's talent is really too high. As long as she's not dead, I can't rest at ease. Xiezhen said with a dark expression. Eighth Prince, should we continue to send more people? Let's wait for a while. The 1,000,000-year national sacrifice will be held in less than 2 months. During this period, my father has not been in secluded cultivation and is paying attention to the big and small matters. It's not a good time to make a move. After the 1,000,000-year national sacrifice, we'll send experts into the demon realm and kill him in one fell swoop. Xiezhen's eyes were sinister. Creak. Lu Ming clenched his fists tightly. He almost could not control the killing intent in his body. Who is it? However, it only leaked out a little bit and was sensed by an expert. Buzz. Lu Ming's figure moved and he left the place. In an instant he appeared 100 miles away and returned to the dormitory. He really wanted to slap Xiezhen to death, but he knew that it wasn't the time yet. He had to find the entrance to the demon realm and save Xianyanqing. If he killed Xiezhen now, he would definitely alert the enemy. Now, he could only let Xiezhen live for a while longer. However, Lu Ming swore that he would kill Xiezhen sooner or later. From then on, Lu Ming would find time to wander around every day and try to find out more about the Abyss Demon territory. Unfortunately, he found nothing. It seemed that very few people knew about the Abyss Demon territory. Lu Ming guessed that the Tartarian demonic realm was most likely a plane or a secret realm. The entrance was most likely somewhere in the palace. On the other hand, other than going out to inquire, Lu Ming would be refining the spirit refinement pill and comprehending the intent realm. The divine refinement pill could not directly increase Lu Ming's cultivation level. However, it could make the spiritual god more condensed and the spiritual sense would become stronger. The stronger the spiritual god was, the more beneficial it would be for his future cultivation. 3 days later, Lu Ming was cultivating when Shi Fang came again. Lu Ming walked out of the room and looked at Shi Fang indifferently. What's wrong? You want to get beaten up again? Shi Fang's face turned ugly. He snorted and said, I'm here to inform you that there's a mission. The 8th Prince is going to the Beast Mountain to hunt. We need to go together. Let's go. All right. Lu Ming smiled and strode outside. Shi Fang looked at Lu Ming's back and a cold smile appeared at the corners of his lips. The Imperial Dragon Guards gathered and followed Xiezhen, heading towards Beast Cry Mountain. Beast Cry Mountain was a boundless mountain range. Countless ferocious beasts lived in it. It was a hunting ground for the royal family, and it was specially used for the Xie family's descendants to train their cultivation. The golden spear in his hand emitted a dazzling light as he stabbed toward Lu Ming. The huge spear whistled through the air with terrifying might. What a strong killing intent. He wants to kill me. A cold glint flashed across Lu Ming's eyes. If not for the fact that he was worried about alerting the enemy, he would have killed Xiezhen right away. Boom! Lu Ming took a step forward and his body soared into the sky. The spear's radiance that was condensed in his hand grew rapidly. It became 100 meters long and 10 meters wide. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.